Hi. Todd. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the March 11th Oregon Tourism Commission meeting. To everyone that has joined us here today in Salem and to those joining us through the Travel Oregon's Industry YouTube channel, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Today's meeting materials, including the agenda and supplemental material, can be found on the Travel Oregon Industry website if you'd like to follow along. Commissioners, I would like to acknowledge that in holding a meeting today, we met all public meeting notice requirements provided by state law. With that said, I'd like to ask the rest of the commission to formally introduce themselves to the audience today, and we will begin with Commissioner Patel.
Oh, good afternoon. Harish Patel, Florentine Incorporated. I own and operate lodging hospitality on Eastern Oregon and Oregon coast. Thank you.
Good afternoon, David Grimmels. It's lovely to be here in Salem, and I had a lovely drive from Southern Oregon. I'm serving as a commissioner at large, and I was founder of Rogue Creamery and Churn, and passions are organic and regenerative agriculture as well as agritourism.
Good afternoon. My name is Erin Stevenson. I'm from McMinnville, just down the road. I feel like I'm in my backyard right now. I am the founder and co-owner of the Atticus Hotel, 3rd Street Flats, and Cypress. And I am really excited to be here today and would love to thank all of the Travel Oregon team members that have been working tirelessly over the last many months to make this happen. I know it's a huge lift, and we really appreciate it. So thanks so much for all you do.
Good afternoon, everyone. Scott Youngblood, and it's so nice to be here with you to kick off the Governor's Conference. I am from Cascada, a hotel and spa under development in the Alberta Arts neighborhood of Northeast Portland, and looking forward to having you all as my guest sometime later this year. Please not all at once.
Hello, David Pendleton with America's Hub Tours, and I just want to say thank you to Salem, Angie, and everyone for everything you do and the invitation to come and have the Governor's Conference here. And of course, as well as the Travel Oregon staff for all the work that's been put into making this happen. Just so excited to be here. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Travis Hill. I'm with the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians and Umpqua Indian Development Corporation. I'm the COO for UIDC. Great to be here today. Excited for the Governor's Conference and look forward to meeting more of you during the conference.
Good afternoon. Ana Maria Ponzi, owner of A.M. Ponzi and Company, current interim director for Linfield University's Wine Studies. I represent public at large, and it's wonderful to see you all.
And I am Greg Willits out of lovely Sisters, Oregon, built and run Five Pine Lodge and Shibui Spa. And happy to be back in Salem and happy to be back at a Governor's Conference. And also I'm appreciative of all the work that goes into this. Thank you.
And I am Lucinda DeNovo, Director of Sales and Events at the Mill Casino Hotel and RV Park, owned by the Coquille Indian Tribe, and Chair of the Commission. And last but not least, Todd.
Thanks, Lucinda. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Davidson. I'm the CEO of Travel Oregon, and it is wonderful to be in Salem in the Willamette Valley and to be back together with 550 plus of you. We have sold out the conference center, I hear. So good to be back. Looking forward to a great conference together.
Thanks, Todd. Today we have an opportunity to hear from stakeholders, partners, and public statements. So if you plan on making remarks, please sign in right over here. There is a sign-up sheet where you can sign up for public comment. As many of the commissioners have already said, it is wonderful to be back in our state's capital, this time kicking off what is set to be an extraordinary Governor's Conference on Tourism. I would like to thank the staff for all of their work and efforts in making the next couple days such an educational and inspirational time together as we focus on the conference theme, Stewarding Oregon's Future. I am excited to be with you and our industry partners over the next couple of days. And with that, we have a very, very full agenda. So let's go ahead and get started. Commissioners, in holding an in-person meeting throughout the state, one important opportunity we have is to hear from our local partners welcoming us into their communities. It's my pleasure to introduce Danielle Tahama, Executive Director of the Willamette Valley Visitor Association, along with Angie Villery, President and CEO of Travel Salem, to join us today. Danielle and Angie.
The opener.
Thank you, Lucinda. You should have had an opener from Travel Salem in your rooms when you checked in. Good afternoon, Chairman DeNovo and Todd and commissioners. I have a very important thing that I want to get off my chest first and foremost, so apologies, this is not part of my initial agenda. Thank you. But the wine is here to celebrate, so we have North and South Valley represented. We have amazing wine, as we all know, in the Willamette Valley, but today it's here to celebrate someone's birthday. So it was taking a poll if everyone wanted to sing happy birthday to Todd, and it looks like Scott is giving me a second, so if everyone would quickly join me in happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Todd. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks, you guys.
I was not formally told not to bring this up, but I bet he will not forget next year.
You can neither confirm nor deny. Okay, I get it. Thanks,
So
Danielle.
to kick this off, WAVA has a very short agenda just to go over. We really appreciate the fact that we get to address the commission directly when you are in region. So again, welcome to the Willamette Valley. We have a lot of things going on, moving and shaking, and it's a challenge sometimes to remember everything when I see you in your own communities or at other meetings. So to dive right into this, accessible trails and our work with TKO. So Trail Keepers of Oregon, my team is over in the corner, and you'll be hearing from a couple of them shortly. But I wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that we've been doing. So you see there 20 trails have been evaluated, and that's in coordination with the Environmental Leadership Program through University of Oregon. This spring, we're adding 10 additional trails to be evaluated in Yamhill, Polk, Marion, and Southwest Clackamas. So to kind of round out the region as a whole and look at accessibility across the region. As you know, this is a very important tactic in part of our strategic planning. We will have an evergreen model for evaluating best practices, volunteer recruitment, training, and incorporation of final materials. So as this kind of develops, we'll have a better use and better resource to kind of share with some of our neighboring regions and our communities and how to keep this conversation going. I will say that our AmeriCorps placement, our rare placement, Augusta, is leading this work with Jesse in our offices, and it's just been invaluable to see this kind of grow, especially with our students leading the way in Southern Oregon, or Southern Willamette Valley. Some topics for consumer-facing assets. We have transitioned to what Travel Oregon's old menu of investment opportunities looked like. So we're opening up our really our budget and our tactics to be able to align better with our DMOs. This year we have a completely different marketing strategic plan that we've recently unveiled to our board, allowing various sizes of stakeholders to tie into what the Valley is doing. So we're taking it to a different level and allowing access to small businesses and independent guides and operators, independent hoteliers, to tie back to the really good work that WAVA is doing and the really good work that Travel Oregon is doing. So there's more cohesion. We're really excited about that. and also being able to expand on our content and our website development. So our consumer webpage, we're in the process of 3 new build-outs, one in coordination with Travel Salem and Wine Country license plate, one in coordination with sports, so we'll have a sports page and several children's pages on there. So we have a main page and then pages underneath. For whether it's collegiate sports, sports tourism, et cetera, so we can easily find what's going on in and around the valley. And then, of course, accessibility and how to find accessible hotels, trails, resources in and around the valley. So we're really excited about that. Just to highlight Mackenzie Regenerative Travel Project, this was like the original. We've been talking about this for quite a few years. This came out of COVID and our wildfires. But just to give you a high-level overview, as that project kind of wrapped, we're continuing to develop sustainably focused, inclusive trips with like First Nature Tours is one of our guides right now. But this was a good learning process for us and a good project that we took a lot of learnings from. So the success of it was that we had a lot of media and a lot of PR coverage, but again, we did learn our lesson. We didn't have a lot of solid bookings because it was new. The term regenerative really wasn't known. It's still in the process of being understood by many, so we took a lot of learnings from this, and we've developed additional projects and implemented additional itineraries and additional products based on the feedback that we got from our partners. So again, that partnership continues to be really strong throughout the valley. And moving into adaptive mountain biking development, again, accessibility is very important to us here in the valley. We are outdoor centric, but we want to be sure that we're accessible to all. So we just had a meeting this morning going over the findings of where we are with our current grant. We received a $100,000 Travel Oregon grant to work on some of these projects. And I quote from C2 Recreation, we will soon be best in region and amazing for the West Coast as far as accessible trails, mountain biking trails in and around the Pacific Northwest. So very excited about that. The reason we're developing some of these in the West Cascades is because the seasonality is a little better. So it doesn't get quite as hot as Central. We know Central is known for their mountain biking as well. We're 5 to 10 degrees cooler. And we have 2 new trails being built out and developed in coordination with C2. So again, very excited. We'll have quite a few to put online by the end of the summer. So this project is moving very quickly. And then we're looking at environmental assessment support for additional projects moving into the next few years. Promise I'm almost done. Transformational and regenerative travel, again, these are things that we're very, very focused on. We were the first early adopter in the Transformation Destination Program. We recently reconvened our original group. It took us some time really to do some more internal work than we thought we needed as an entity and as a regional DMO to really understand where we were broken. And how tourism was not leveraging the support of the community. So we took a step back. We are in the process of looking at developing 2, 5, and 7-year goals in alignment with that program that we committed to and wrapped up in September of 22. In addition, we're looking at the UN SDG score that the Willamette Valley has, so we know where we fall on the scale for the UN for regenerative tourism and environmental work. We're also coordinating currently, we just found out that some of our food trails and some of the work we're doing is being highlighted through the UN's Food Zone Project, which is exciting. That means that the Willamette Valley partners and our small growers and producers are being recognized for some of the work that they're doing. So on that global scale, we're very happy to hear that. And then ongoing and evolving, WAVA is part of the Global Stewardship Learning Innovation Lab, as is Travel Oregon, with Todd being part of that group as well. And it was 22 people from around the world that were asked to come to LA to have a discussion on stewardship and what it meant to the industry. So we're very honored to be part of that conversation and see the information that is coming from that program. Also recently signed on with ACFA, the Pacific Northwest Expedia Climate Program. So we're looking at that as well. I know ACFA is in a different playing field altogether with climate action, climate change. But the Willamette Valley feels climate also starts at that grassroots community level, soil conservation, making sure our communities are healthy. And I still see a very strong bridge between ACVA and WAVA as each program develops. Couple last minute things. Zero Food Print is another program that I know a lot of people across the state are involved in. And then I will, as Angie starts talking, I just have a handout for you guys to take home regarding the agritourism economic analysis that we helped fund. That is published and the study is available. I do, again, have an executive summary that I'll leave with you because we feel very strongly that agritourism, it does involve our wine and our beverage industries and our food and farm trails, but it involves everything else that agriculture brings. So we're very happy that we actually have some numbers to facilitate conversation with supporting our agriculture partners. So again, agritourism impact study, regional partnerships. Primarily, you see our ornaments there. We're in, I think, our 5th year now so this is going into our 6th year of partnering with the Forest Service and our Parks Departments and Cascade Volunteers in laying these ornaments. We're kind of bridging this and evaluating how to bring in more partners like hoteliers, restaurateurs to benefit from the economic impact of seasonal travel. And also, we just wrapped up, Jesse helped lead a cross-regional collaboration between Southern Oregon and the Willamette Valley. So Bob and his team, WAVA, went to LA. I did desk sides. They did a consumer engagement show. And we really love that partnership because we're seeing that cross-regional promotion. We did include Portland and up into Clackamas, just the I-5 corridor of a drive market from LA and San Francisco. But we're continuing to see, how we can better partner with our land managers, community partners, city managers, other regions to kind of further the voice of the Willamette Valley and Oregon as a whole. And with that, I do have 2 very brief updates from 2 of our aspiring tourism professionals. So 2 of our interns, I'm going to have them come up really quickly, maybe one at a time. So I'll have Quinna up first.
Thank you, Danielle. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to meet you. My name is Quinna Cipher. I'm the current regenerative marketing intern for WAVA. I'm also a current MBA student at Willamette University. I'll be graduating this May if everything goes according to plan. And my role at WAVA, I've been here since September, has really just been an incredible impact for myself as an intern, but also for WAVA's connection to the region and to the universities in our area. To be able to bring in new ideas and new faces has been really invaluable, and I think that it's really helped to refresh a lot of the things that we've been doing this year. But from an intern perspective, it's also been really incredible for me to be able to be in a role where I'm focusing on creating partnerships and community. March 2020 was during my freshman year of college, so every job and opportunity that I've had since being a college student has been at least physically distant from my team and from the community that I'm serving. So it's been really incredible to be in this role, and I really encourage you all to, if you have opportunities to work with interns in the area, please take those because they're really invaluable to us as experiences. And so I will pass it off to Josh, who is our other intern, to share what he's been up to. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Josh Oakley. I'm our sports coordinator here with WAVA. I started it back in July, and I'm a current senior at Linfield University, just down the road in McMinnville. Go Cats. So I want to talk a little bit about regional tourism within our region, as well as just some of the awesome projects that we've got going collaboratively. First, I want to touch a little bit on Ironman. I know the Salem delegation will talk a lot about its incredible successes, but this event was brought by just collaborative efforts between all bodies, state, region, and city, in order to host just a world-class sporting event here in Salem. And across the region, we're seeing recreational sports continue to call the Willamette Valley home. My role with WAVA was born out of a partnership. Essentially, we saw a little bit of a need to highlight some of these sports tourism, and we approached Danielle and said, hey, I started this group called the Front Office at Linfield University. We collaborate with partners in order to help elevate sports within kind of our community as well as those outside. And we said, hey, we think sports needs to be a little bit more important about kind of what we do. And so we've been working together to try to highlight that. That's kind of that development of that webpage like Danielle spoke about. But this all came together collaboratively in order to try and grow sports tourism within our region and the state as well. And that's all I have. I'll pass it back to Danielle.
Thank you. And I just feel it's very beneficial for you to hear from some of our up-and-coming tourism professionals and our youth. So that's it for WAVA's presentation. Any questions for me before I turn it over to Angie and her team?
Commissioners, any questions? No?
Thank you all.
Okay, if I could possibly give you a compliment on this study. I just want to compliment you on this study. It's so vital and timely when we are working with trying to protect our farmland against the UGB movements. So thank you. I was actually looking for these stats just a month ago, so they're here. Thank you.
Yes, OSU Extension, Audrey is an amazing team member for WAVA as well, just an amazing partner. So again, academia, we love our academic partners, and we're very grateful to be able to help fund these when possible. Thank you.
I wanted to compliment you on your work and creating these evergreen templates for other regions to use. I know that's much appreciated, and your focus on regenerative ag and also agritourism, and I see in partnership with OSU. Great work. Thank you for your report.
Danielle, we always talk about what a small team you are, but what an incredibly mighty team you are. So again, my hat's off to you for the work that you do with your incredibly talented team. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that you recently received an award, I think from the National Tour Association, the Woman of Vision Award, and how fitting. So I would like to give Danielle a round of applause for that award.
Thank you. Yeah. Turn it over to Angie.
Good afternoon, Chair DeNovo, Commissioners, and CEO Davidson. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Angie Villery. I'm President and CEO of Travel Salem. And we're so delighted to welcome you here today for this amazing Governor's Conference that you're going to have. I'm going to whisk through some quick updates about our region. We do represent Marion and Polk counties, and there's been a lot going on. Needless to say, in the middle of COVID, we bought a new facility. Funny how sometimes crises present amazing opportunities, and we saw one. We were spending a lot of money in rent, over $10,000 plus parking to rent a location. And we started thinking, well, how do we be even smarter with our dollars? And this opportunity came forward. So I'm happy to say that with the tenants that we have in the building, we will be paying less than $3,000 in rent with a brand new state-of-the-art facility. So really exciting. So it was a financial move. It was a move to drive our mission forward. This facility will have you can see some photos of it here. It has a drive-through, so we'll be doing drive-through visitor, well, we are doing drive-through visitor information. And along with the drive-through, we're going to be doing drive-through weddings. So I have been ordained, and I'm going to be doing it in a full garb. My staff will be in garb. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to make it really memorable for folks that want to come through and do that. So we're excited. We haven't done one yet, but we're getting ready. I really want to thank WAVA for donating this incredible, beautiful 16-foot wine bottle that you see there. It's an exhibit. It's traveled to innumerable airports in the country, and it's landed here in Salem. And so we're really happy to showcase it in our visitor center. So there's another quick view of it. But you're welcome to come visit while you're here. I also want to just give a shout out for the Willamette Valley. Forbes did name us the one of the top 50 destinations in the country. So well-deserved, hard-earned. So much hard work there, and I really want to give accolades to my colleague Danielle and her team. We are so fortunate here in the Valley to have them leading our regional efforts, and so I know they're jumped on this, and we're all working it to try to leverage it as much as we can. Speaking about wine country, we recently got commercial air service for the first time. We had it back in 2008. It went under with Delta because the price per barrel shot through the roof, and they could no longer operate in smaller markets like Salem. So it took us a long time. I worked on this for about 5 years to bring commercial air service back to Salem. And we landed a partnership with the Velo Airlines. They're flying into Salem, because I'm interested in the inbound, from Vegas and Burbank. And then in May, we're going to be receiving flights from Sonoma County. So we're connecting wine country to wine countries. And Oregon is so well known for its wines all over the state of Oregon, so what a great opportunity for us all. The city of Salem is really investing in airport expansion, so they have purchased space that was a little north of there. There was a Hertz rental car site. They purchased that. They're building the North Terminal campus, and they're also looking at a phase 2 expansion, which would mean moving the air tower to another location so the terminal can become 2 stories. So wonderful story to tell there. Burbank, Salem to Burbank, Burbank to Salem is Avelo's best launch to date out of 35 markets, and they're doing really well, which is really great to hear. They just announced pretty much 100 days of service in Salem. They're doing great, and as an airline, they're doing really great. So that bodes well for Oregon and all the other markets that Avelo does serve. Wanted to just also mention our Wine Country Plate program. We represent Region 1, which is Marion, Polk, and Yamhill counties. And the folks that you see on this slide here are on our advisory committee. They work very, very hard, and they've been working very hard on a new marketing plan. So we're getting ready to roll out about a $200,000 TV campaign with a bunch of different bells and whistles that promotes the wine country. So we're excited, and I'm thankful to that team that you see on the board there. Speaking about Ironman, thank you for giving me a quick precursor here. This has been an incredible journey. Also during COVID, kind of same time as the building, we landed Ironman. And that was a really strange place to be because our communities were shut down, and yet we're talking about bringing in 10,000 plus people into our community. So we really set out on a journey to talk to our residents to find out, how do you feel about that? Are you willing and ready to welcome all these visitors into Salem? And they were, so we jumped on it. It was the fastest launch of any Ironman event. It took us 7 months from start of conversation to actually athletes on the ground in Riverfront Park. It is now the fastest selling Ironman in North America. We just signed another 5-year contract, and I want to thank Travel Oregon and WAVA for your support and partnership, because it would not have happened without you. As they mentioned, it is voted the best overall run experience in the entire global Ironman portfolio, which is amazing. These are some numbers. One number that isn't up there is our 2023 event had over $13 million economic impact in 3 days. So it does a lot of hard work and a big lift in this community, and it continues to gain speed. Destination development front, really quick. Resilient headwaters. Hugely fire impacted area. We had terrible wildfires here, and it decimated these areas. A couple of guys that really stepped up and said, we're going to help figure this out. So they've leading efforts to clear the trails. They've led efforts to identify 180 trails and to define them so that we can say they're ADA accessible, they have restrooms, all of these things, and they just mapped those out. Incredible work being done, and we're still working to reopen this area. But I want to thank Travel Oregon again for a $50,000 grant that you gave to help us do this really important work to develop new product in Oregon. This is world-class hiking and trail system. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. I hope some of you will come and visit it when it opens again completely. A quick update on our Tourism and Economic Development Consortium. We started this earlier this year, actually middle of last year, sorry. We're in 2024 already. And this has been an effort to bring together the economic development professionals in the region. So we're talking about cities, chambers, Main Street programs, tourism entities to come to the table and talk about what issues we're facing as a region and how can we collaborate and work together. Some really great work is coming out of this. We're doing some broadband expansion conversations as well as looking at a lodging task force, so to bring in new lodging development into the region. So exciting work happening there. Talking about interns. We just had an example of 2 amazing young talent that we have coming to support our industry. We launched a program with our cultural heritage folks. It's a pilot program with some interns that we got from OSU. We asked our cultural heritage partners, because they're small, right? Sometimes they're just 1 or 2 people running these things, and they need help. what help do you need? And what came back from them was a lot of different stuff they needed help with. Website development, social media, event production, you name it, IT support. And so we developed job descriptions from their needs, and we cast out and hired 2 interns that are doing this work. And it's brilliant. They're supporting 4 different organizations right now, and we're looking to expand this program to the entire tourism industry within our region when this thing is kind of, with the culturals, kind of terms out in about a month. So we're going to expand that program, but it's really wonderful. We have so much talent, and it's a great opportunity, again, to welcome in the workforce of the future, but to also give the support on the ground, you know, lifting that they need to have that experience, and our partners need that. Oops, sorry, backwards. Last couple things here, our resident engagement. I mentioned how important our residents have been and how we move in the destination development space and tourism, sports development space. We started working with our city about some street art and block parties. I had wanted to do some block parties to bring the tourism engine out into our communities. And then the city launched this intersection art program. And it's just been an incredible marriage to accomplish both. So we work with the neighborhoods. They develop these pieces of art that represent their community, and then they come together. We buy the paint and the supplies and things like that, and they come together and they create these pieces of art in their community, and then we throw a block party to announce it. And it's really done great work to bring the community closer into the tourism sector so that they can get hands-on experience with our attractions and our restaurant tours that come out and our food carts and all of that. But it's just been really wonderful. Lastly, I'll wrap up with, you guys are going to have an amazing lunch tomorrow. You guys are going to be spread out amongst some really great restaurants listed up there: Basil and Board, Bentley's here in the hotel, Gambaretti's, Masonry Grill, Pacific Standard, Ritter's, and Wild Pear. And you're just going to have a blast. So thank you, Travel Oregon, for bringing the conference here and allowing us to showcase our community. We're so delighted to have all of you here. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Angie. Any questions from commissioners?
Not a question. I just want to say thank you. You two are just amazing with the work you do, not just the economic impact of all the results of your efforts, but, you know, the community piece is huge, that intersection point. I appreciate everything you guys do. And, of course, you know, for the businesses and the marketing piece, you just do incredible work. You know, the Iron Man is just one example of that. And I'm excited, too, to see. Are you sure? Okay. I'm excited to see the airport. That's just it just thrills me to have that service coming into this area, and I think it's going to open a lot of doors.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Harish.
You mentioned the trails. What is the anticipated opening date for the first one?
Sorry, Commissioner, which trails?
I know you said you're developing some trails, 180 trails.
Yes, we're doing Trailhead. We're right now looking at the accessibility. Some trails are already existing and open. The other 2, I believe, are slated for. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Oh, is it Resilient Headwaters or the mountain biking trails?
Okay. Oh, just for regular hiking.
Oh, so that's Resilient Headwaters.
Yeah, so we don't have an anticipated open date for some of the trails are open and people can explore, but some of them are still closed down from the wildfires.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it depends on the clearing efforts and some other things that need to take place in order for those to be, you know, destined safe. Yeah, the product is still there and it's going to come back even more beautiful. So thank you for asking.
Thank you. Nice work.
Thank you.
Angie, I had a question about the cultural heritage. You said you're working with 4 organizations. Could you tell us a little bit about the organizations?
So let's see, we have Deepwood Estate, which is a historic home. We have, and I'm trying to do this by memory, I apologize if I list them incorrectly, the Willamette Heritage Center, the Capitol Mall, actually, which has been closed, and the visitor center there has been closed due to renovations that have been going on for a couple of years, and I think it's slated to go on for another year. And then there's one more wonderful partner that I'm forgetting. But yes, and they all needed, it's surprising, they all kind of needed similar types of work. They all were looking for social media support, not only to run their channels, but to create the content. They also were looking for website development. So we've done audits of their websites and said, okay, these are some areas we can really shore up, and they're creating that content as well as some other content they needed. And then some of their events, they're actually doing some event planning, and yeah, it's been really rewarding for both the attractions plus the interns themselves. And the interns they work for Travel Salem. They're housed in our facility, but then, we have kind of a strategic plan that we've laid out for each of the facilities, and then they execute that work. So it's just been a really amazing kind of stars aligned kind of a thing, and really hoping that it will have the same success when we roll out to others, because our hotels also need support, our venues need support, our restaurateurs need support, and so we'll see what kind of legs it gets.
Well, I applaud you for that work. I appreciate your passion. I also am very excited about the airline service and the 5 years it took you to see that project to fruition, so congratulations. I'd also like to thank you both, as many of the commissioners have already said, and for the lovely baskets in our rooms. Love the Willamette River Water Trail, and I love the non-alcoholic spirit dose. I think I'm saying that correctly. So I just went dry 5 months ago, so I was so excited to see that on my basket. So thank you so very much for that. And again, when you two get up, we had a report from you last year, and you're just so inspirational with the work that you do. So thank you. I applaud you both.
Thank you.
Commissioners, on Wednesday, February 28th, the commission meeting notice was posted to the commission meeting webpage. Notice was sent out through industry communications, and a link to this live stream were posted. Last week, the agenda and today's meeting materials were added, allowing an opportunity for partners and stakeholders to review materials ahead of time together today. Today's opportunity to hear from our stakeholders and partners is really an invitation to our partners to provide us with more information, updates, and constructive thoughts regarding Oregon's travel and tourism industry. I'd also like to remind everyone that a comment forum lives live continually on our industry webpage, should you like an opportunity to provide us with your thoughts and insights. One comment was received prior to the commission meeting from Joanne Gower and was distributed to the commission and will be posted on our post-meeting materials to become part of the meeting's public record. To let Ms. Gower know, we are working on a response and we'll be connecting her with the Oregon Department of Transportation for a possible solution. With today's meeting being held in person, we do have the opportunity for attendees to sign up to speak with us, and we request that the remarks remain respectful and professional, and we ask that the comments are limited to 3 minutes. And I think there are a few people that have signed up. One of my favorite ladies, Sue Densmore, has signed up. Sue.
Somebody said to me the other day, you have the most exciting job, and I said, the really exciting job is going to be when I can invite you all to the Oregon Cave Chateau, and you can stay overnight. Won't we all be thrilled when that day comes? So I'm Sue Densmore. I'm the Executive Director of the Friends of the Oregon Caves and Chateau, and I'm here to give you a very brief update on where we are with the Chateau restoration and thank you to you for funding the Historic Furnishings Plan. It is about halfway done at this point. We've added additional partners, and that is to maintain this facility as a National Historic Landmark. And this is critical, not only because it is a landmark, but because it will continue to keep the joy of staying in that building. As we will to gain a concessioner, they often don't worry so much about the original furniture in the rooms and some of the things that you expect with an NHL. So we appreciate your funding that. It took us a while to get it done, but as we finished it, then we were able to put a book together, which we will have coming out in May. One of the little sepia-colored books that's the history of the Oregon Caves from 1874 to 2017. So we'll get you one when the next meeting happens. So in a nutshell, what's happened is we went to the Park Service with a bid. We got $20 million to do life safety and accessibility. You've heard this. Then they said you've got to do foundation and seismic work. We went back with another bid, and they said it's too high. So we could have stopped at that point. We could have just said, we're done. But we didn't. We thought, no, we can't do that. So we've regrouped again. We created a blue ribbon committee, which I'm pleased to say that your fair friend David has been joining us on a regular basis. And bless your heart for taking the time. We've so appreciated it. We also have National Park Conservation Association, Restore Oregon, Visit Grants Pass. I won't go on. There's a nice long list of people. But in doing that, then we went back to the Park Service with another bid, and they said still too high. So at this point, we said, what can we do? And we say all of our congressional delegation is in support because this is a federal asset to Oregon. It's a federal asset to Southern Oregon. And it's also a gateway community. It supports a great deal of Southwestern Oregon. So at this particular time, I just got back actually from D.C. The situation is Park Service gave us $20 million. They will give us more. We have said we will think of a way to raise the gap. Okay, the gap could be 21 to 30 million. We don't know. That's a big ask. But again, we can give up or we can keep working on it. So we're going to keep working on it. And to that end, Bob and Tori and our lovely Southern Oregon group have come together with an awareness group now. And we're going to put on in late April a webinar of some size to talk about where we are. And that hopefully will lead to a capital campaign, Raise the Gap campaign that will start sometime after we have the awareness campaign. And I just want to say that we have the support of so many people, even including Chuck Sams, who, of course, is an Oregonian. He is the head of the Park Service. I just met with him a couple weeks ago, and he said, this really has to happen. And also, the National Park Service has continued to say it needs to come back as a overnight lodge. It shouldn't be an office building. It shouldn't be let go. And so that is my update, and thank you again to David and all of you who have heard me over and over again give you these updates, and I hope that you'll, watch our awareness campaign, support Bob and the team there, and if you know of any lead gifts, that's where we are. We're starting to ask foundations and individuals, and we hope that the awareness campaign will start to bring some of those to light. The National Park Foundation is already working on one individual that they know, and so we're just putting the word out. And thank you for all that you do and for listening to me meeting after meeting. Thank you. Any questions? I guess I can say
Sue,
that.
I just wanted to thank you for your diligence, your perseverance, and your passion. It's a pleasure to serve on your Blue Ribbon group, and really appreciate everyone's efforts on that group, and certainly excited to see where the awareness group takes this fundraising. Great work.
Thank you again for everything.
I want a question.
Yes.
If the awareness group somehow is able to get this gap, what is the expected total cost that you think for this completion of this project?
This is an interesting question, and actually Park Service asks us not to share what the actual bid is, because if then somebody heard that, they would come in and it has to go out for bid, and they would say, oh, well, and that's kind of what happened in the first time. They got an idea of what it might be, and they bid right to it. And so we don't know, to be truthful. Right now, some of the $20 million that was originally funded is being used to rethink, can we do it in stages? And that's probably what we'll do. That'll be more expensive. And the other option that we're looking at, which makes the Park Service pretty nervous, but the idea of maybe we do it as a demonstration project, maybe we do it outside of the Park Service, maybe there are local contractors that can help us. We don't have any idea. But that has finally come to our awareness because we've gone to Park Service twice, and they say 5, 10 to 15 years. And so we don't know, really, what the truth is. It's gone anywhere from $40 million and up. Quite a ways higher than $40 million, let me just say. The entire Park Service budget for construction is what the bid was for a year.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay.
Thank you,
you
Sue.
again. I
Appreciate
sure
it.
appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay, the next person is James Pearson from Hood River Hotel. James, are you here? Oh, wonderful. James, please come up to the table. Did you just sign? Did you just think you were signing in? I think so. Okay, that's all right. No, don't you worry about it. We are glad you're here, James. Are there any more comments? Public comments?
James, if you're in sales, that was your opportunity. I just,
Okay. Being that there are no more public comments, we will move to the financial update. Before I do that, I would like to confirm that the commissioners received and have had a chance to review the commission packet, including the financials that were posted to the meeting page. Okay. I'd also like to thank Vice Chair Willits for reviewing the financials with me, Commissioner Stevenson, Todd and Kathleen prior to the meeting. We had a healthy conversation regarding the state of the industry and how Travel Oregon is responding. Greg, if you would like to provide us with a summary of the financial update, and then Todd will give us a bit more information.
Thank you, Chair DeNovo. The fiscal year-to-date financials were included in our commission materials and have been posted to the industry site. Looking at current fiscal year-to-date as updated during the financials call February 20th. Through February, we have received $30.7 million in transient lodging tax, or 70% of the current $43.7 million budgeted. Year over year, TLT is down 3% compared to the same time frame, fiscal year 23. We have seen an improvement, however, as the fiscal year progresses. Q1, for example, was down 7% compared to the prior fiscal year, and we are continuing to closely monitor the TLT. Note that the TLT funds we receive are based on the Oregon Department of Revenue's timing and processing of tax returns. Compared, and on a positive note, compared to fiscal year 2019, TLT is up 23% after adjusting for the change in tax rate. Commissioners, any questions?
No, Todd, will you carry on with more information, please?
I am happy to do that. I wanted to pick up on a point that Greg raised, and it's where we are in anticipation of our budget for this year. We are running slightly behind as of right now. I think commissioners will recall that we work with a firm called Tourism Economics to help us with our revenue forecast. And the revenue forecast was first done for us in February of last year to prepare for this current biennium. And then we revise it as we move through the spring, and we do a final budget adoption then when we get to the June commission meeting. And last spring was stronger than what summer materialized. Summer was fairly flat in some regions of the state, and the growth wasn't realized as strongly as we thought. So to that point, Greg mentioned that when we first were receiving the transient lodging tax revenue for this current fiscal year, there was about a 7% delta year over year based on where we were this year to date for Q1 and where we were last year. So we're always monitoring revenues as they come in, but we just continue to keep an eye on the revenues and the expenses as we move through. And as we got to December, we asked Tourism Economics to review the revenue forecast that they'd given us a year ago with us. And with that, we are at a position right now where we believe we're going to be down about 7.5% for the biennium. I know you heard Greg reference 3%. That's 3% in current collections year over year, but we'd anticipated about 4% growth. So those two together is where we're getting that 7.5% delta. And so we're looking at needing to trim about $6.9 million out of our $91 million budget. So it's about 7.5%. $3.3 million this year, it's $3.6 million next year. The good news in all that is that we have offsets that will make up about $1 million of that. Those offsets are there are elements of Travel Oregon's budget that are what I call formulaic. They're in statute. Those of you that are familiar with the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program and our Competitive Grants Program know that that's 20% of every dollar we receive goes into the RCTP, 10% goes into the grants. If money is coming in below budget, there's less money going into those respective programs. It's just statutory formula in terms of how it operates. So we had budgeted the RCTP and the grants program against a $91 million budget. Revenues are not coming in as strongly, and so there will be less money going into the RCTP and the grants program for future years. So please know, every one of you that's in the room right now that's been given your number for FY25 in the RCTP program, that number is good. Okay, in case you're wondering, that number is good because it was based on last calendar year. So any impacts in terms of how collections came in last fall were already taken into account for that calculation. So there will be no change to that number. Okay, so I want to make sure you hear that one loud and clear. So that is one of the places that about $1 million of that, $1.1 million, is going to be, the adjustment will be made. We also have some other sources of revenue within the Travel Oregon budget. We had some unallocated transient lodging tax from FY23 that we received in this fiscal year. The Department of Revenue has what they call an accrual, and that was a couple $100,000. When we saw where we were with the lodging tax revenue coming in this year, we decided to hold on appropriating that money until we had a better handle on where the dollars were going to be coming in. So there's that money. Our interest income, however, is coming in much stronger than we'd anticipated, and so we're actually looking at nearly doubling the amount of money that we anticipated coming in our interest income. And then we also have the Immediate Opportunity Fund, which the Commission had set up a few years ago, and there's roughly $1.5 million in there for us to be able to utilize. So this makes up, about $1 million in there for us to utilize. So this makes up $1.5 million. So we're basically at 2.7 of the 3.3. So we have about $600,000 that we'll be looking at postponing. No programs are being canceled, no positions are being canceled, but we're looking to postpone some of the recruitments. Nothing that's currently being recruited for. Those recruitments will continue, but there are some positions that we'll postpone the recruitment on. And there are a couple of programs that we will postpone the implementation on to make up that other $600,000. So again, we're getting into about $600,000 in a $40 million budget. So overall, I applaud the Commission for steps that were actually taken by you and by your predecessors in setting up this kind of financial accountability, because we started over 20 years ago setting up a variety of ways to build kind of safety nets and redundancies within our budget. Some may wonder, what if it's worse than $6.9 million? What if it doesn't recover like we anticipate for any reason? And what I want you to know is we're able to make these adjustments right now without touching our reserve fund. So we have that reserve fund available to us should the revenues come in below that $6.9 million delta that's forecasted for this biennium. So that's the added update that I will add, and I'm happy to, along with Greg, to answer any questions that any commissioners may have.
Commissioners, any questions for Greg or Todd? Todd, I assume in June we will get an update to this, and so if there were any adjustments that needed to be made, that would be brought to the Commission's attention in June. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. In fact, to reemphasize that point and Greg's point, we have a financial committee that meets every month, and we will continue to monitor expenses and revenues at each one of those meetings because we do receive a deposit from the State Department of Revenue each month, and so we will have that opportunity, and should a budget modification be required, we will bring that to the Commission at the June meeting to look at anything we need to do to true up this year, as well as to look ahead to FY25.
Todd, I applaud the work that you and the team did to well, I always applaud the work that you and the team do, but specifically to the financial update, I know there was concern from a number of the commissioners, and so the work that you've done to make sure that we are fully informed and the industry is informed is really appreciated. So thank you very much.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out to Kathleen Stewart, who is our Director of Finance and Accounting, because she is definitely the one that's working behind the scenes to make all the various scenarios that we're looking at when we're looking at possible revenue scenarios and the offsets and the other elements, and makes it all manageable and makes it all understandable. And she's invaluable to us. I want to make sure she gets a shout out as well. She's not able to be here with us today, but I got a feeling she's probably watching.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. So I couldn't agree more. If there are no other questions, we will move on to commission action. Commissioner, in an effort to be responsive to the ever-changing technology available, the staff is considering a new format to our minutes that will serve as the final public record statutorily, while also meeting the needs of those who may want to reference our meetings and materials. We look forward to seeing this effort, and we'll look to adopt the December 23 minutes and today's meeting minutes at the June 24th meeting. So we will see those in June. I'm so excited to talk about governance documents. So, commissioners, in my first remarks to you as chair, I stated a commitment to continue the good work that our previous chair, Richard Boyles, had been focused on, and to document and formalize commissioner roles and processes in a way to establish a library available for future commissioners to utilize. This work has been ongoing, and several weeks ago, 2 documents were shared with the commission for review: a draft role description for a CEO evaluation committee and a draft role description for the for the commission financial update. So I sent those out. I didn't hear any comments, so I don't know if there are any comments today regarding those documents. No? Okay. If there are no questions, I will take a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the role description for the CEO Evaluation Committee and the role description for the Commission Financial Committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. I do want to let the commission know that first I want to thank Commissioners Pendleton and Commissioner Stevenson and the scribe, Vice Chair Willits, for all of their efforts in getting those documents updated. There is more work to do, and we are going to continue to work on this, and we will be presenting some documents to you in June. So thank you again to David and Aaron and Greg. Appreciate it. And with that said, I am going to turn this over to Todd.
All right. Thank you, Lucinda. Greg, you ready? Well, all right. We're going to move into the reports, updates, and discussion portion of our agenda. And the first one is an opportunity for the commission to receive an update on both how Oregon is performing with our international markets, as well as a bit of a forecast as we look ahead to future years. I want to put this in the context of the budget discussion we were just having, because historically, prior to COVID, roughly 1 out of every $8 spent in Oregon, or about 12%, came from an international visitor. And this was something that Runyon and Associates, who does our economic impact study, was able to tell us. So here we are looking at roughly 1 out of every $8, or 12% of all destination spending in Oregon coming from international travelers. And that was at a time that visitor spending in Oregon was about $12.8 billion. Well, in 2022, visitor spending in Oregon was $1 billion plus more. It was $13.9 billion. However, according to Runyon, only 5% of that was from international. And it's an important distinction as we look at what recovery looks like. You know, when folks have talked to me, for example, about Portland's recovery and Portland's resiliency, one of the things I point to is that Portland is our international gateway city with a global reputation for its food scene and its neighborhoods and its art and all. You know, it's been a primary driver for those international markets for years. And yet, when they're only half of what they were in 2019, you know that's going to be influencing visitation, for example, in Portland, and therefore the rest of the state as well, because they are such a strong gateway city for us. So that's something that we've been monitoring as well, but there's recovery on the horizon, and we wanted Greg and Aaron. Aaron is with Tourism Economics. They not only do our revenue forecast for us, but they do this amazing work within the international markets, helping us understand who's coming, what they're doing, what the forecast looks like, et cetera. So with that, Greg, I'm going to turn it over to you to tee this up and let you and Aaron take it away.
Great. Good afternoon, Commissioners. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Greg Eckhart. I'm the Director of Sales here at Travel Oregon. I'm going to go off script a little bit. I'm not going to sing Happy Birthday, Todd. But I do want to give another shout out to the Willamette Valley. That Forbes article is making the rounds, hearing it from our sales networks in Australia, Canada, and the UK. When that story dropped in Forbes about the Willamette Valley, it was all over the news globally, so it was great. That was a wonderful pickup for us. So we have a very short time together. During this time, I'm going to span the globe, as we do in global sales, give you kind of a brief snapshot of our 2024 calendar year work thus far. It's been a busy kind of first quarter of the calendar year, and that's primarily business-to-business work. It's focused on driving demand or increasing demand from a number of global markets to a diverse audience. It's also grounded in kind of optimized sales programs developed with partners like Aaron, with our airline partners from around the world, which you'll hear in just a moment about, and really just kind of see where we've been active. So looking forward to sharing that. Here, actually, on this first slide, I'm going to talk about a little more was in Vancouver with the Vancouver Canucks and Air Canada. Once again, Travel Oregon hosted a media night with the NHL team. This is a great opportunity because we are sort of ahead of the curve with Brand USA. Brand USA being the national marketing body internationally for tourism to the U.S. They have a sports program coming up. So we've been working with the NHL and the Vancouver Canucks. This is the second year of a 3-year program with them. In addition to that, we did some out-of-home advertising in partnership with the Vancouver Outdoor Adventure Show, so driving call to action with out-of-home in Vancouver, so driving people to that show along with the opportunity for them to meet several guide partners and destination partners at the Vancouver Outdoor Show. We've also been active in the Netherlands at Vakantenbeers in support of our nonstop flight with Delta KLM. Vakantenbeers is a large consumer and trade show. We've also been active in the German-speaking markets. In Switzerland, we partnered with Kuoni. It's a large tour operator based in those German markets, and Dare Tour during that show. And then on the right, you'll see us there. We had partnered with Platinum Travel, which is an Irish tour operator, for the Holiday World Showcase. I think that Saturday, in fact, that couple booked right there with Kira. Kira is standing next to me, is the owner of Platinum Travel. And it was really fun at that show over the course of that Saturday. We were there Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, Kira booked 5 bespoke Oregon packages. So they're all different. We did talk about a variety of partners and properties around the state, but it was fun to see that in action booking right there on the stand. So last but not least, we also partnered with Travel Portland and our friends with Delta Airlines in South Korea. We hosted a wine seminar focused primarily on Willamette Valley wines. Our colleague, our contractor in Seoul, Bianca, she identified a wine expert that was like, hey, I know all about the Willamette Valley. So he talked a lot about Willamette Valley, about Southern Oregon wines, and about the wines in the gorge. So it was just a really cool event that we did with Travel Portland and Delta. And kind of following that up, we'll host a FAM tour in April with several members of the travel trade and tour operators, hosted by Delta Airlines and Travel Oregon and Travel Portland. And really all of this couldn't be accomplished without all of our partners. Tour operators, wholesalers, travel agents or travel advisors, as well as domestic and international airline partners. You saw us partnering with Delta here, Vancouver Canucks up in BC, and all over the world with BA, et cetera. These are still the primary markets we're looking at right now. It's what we're tracking on. I'm not going to read them off. You've heard this from me before. You're going to hear from Aaron, but really one thing that I would like to remind you all is you did see some of these numbers in December during the commission training. Those were preliminary 23 numbers. You're going to see more finalized numbers for 23. We're still early on in the year, so there may be some minor tweaks to the 23 numbers, but they're near final. I think we're pretty close. So really using a tour guide like tourism economics, I call them a tour guide because they do help us guide our decisions in terms of where to market, how to make better marketing and sales investments in those markets, and really make strategic sales decisions as we're looking for new lines of business from around the world, and you'll hear that. Excited for Aaron to share the update. There's a lot of opportunity there and a lot of growth in some markets that we've been talking about. I know you've had questions about over the course of our meetings together since the fall, so I'm eager to hear from Aaron. And yeah, they don't let the sales guy necessarily discuss data, so we'll have Aaron take care of that for us. So, take it away, Aaron.
Okay, great. Thanks, Greg. Good afternoon, commissioners. And yes, thanks for having me, and thanks for the ongoing collaboration. The Travel Oregon team really makes sure that they're getting the most out of the relationship and making sure that it's the most current information and that everybody understands what the content is and what the assumptions are that go into it. So I have two sections here today. I was going to start with the U.S. inbound overview and then switch to more Oregon-specific slides. So this is a busy slide to start with, but I think it's just such a great reference point of where we are in this recovery. This is total spending by international visitors into the U.S. relative to 2019. And the piece furthest on the left, total spending, if we look at the blue that is the 2024 blue that you can hardly see, it's because we're just hitting that recovery this year in terms of nominal spending. We're just getting back to a full level. Now, of course, everything costs more, so that's not a full recovery in terms of activity. But that's where we are in terms of total spending. The four graphs on the right are breaking that between domestic and then international, and then each of those we have business and leisure. So the thing I like about this is it shows domestic, both pieces have come back more quickly, right? And that was sort of anticipated that each country the travel within the country would resume first and most strongly. And then international, which is to the right, would take longer, right? So we're seeing this play out, that international is recovering, but it's taking longer to get back up to those 2019 levels. That business is tending to take a little bit longer than leisure. So big picture, that's where we are, generally proceeding as expected. And so we also, on the U.S., are tracking the monthly stats to make sure that the recovery is continuing. So Canada, right, this is again relative to 2019. So Canada came back pretty strongly, right? Great to have them. It's plateaued a little bit in the past 6 months. These go through December. But still pretty favorable recovery. Mexico also coming back pretty strongly. And then overseas, gains continuing through the end of the year. So we're back up to 88% of 2019 visits there at the end of the year. If we look at some of those overseas regions, we are seeing that recovery across each of the regions. So the Americas has tended to come back sooner with Europe, and then Asia Pacific tending to lag. One of the key things about looking at this graph is just continuing to see that month-over-month performance back to 2019 levels. So we have some of these concerns, right, that the global economy is slowing, that we have higher interest rates around the world in a lot of key economies, slowing things down. We have travel costing more, right? Costs have been rising. We have currency headwinds for some of these countries, so Japan in particular, UK, a little bit more expensive to come to the US. Of course, we have geopolitical concerns, Ukraine, Gaza, all these elements, but we're still seeing this recovery in travel. So people are, despite all those headwinds, prioritizing travel, and we think that that recovery is going to continue through this year, that despite those headwinds, we'll continue to see inbound recovery, and that's what we still see in these monthly stats. And overall, if you look at those 23 year-to-date numbers relative to 19, and you think about just how much more ground there is to recover. So the year we just finished, right, there was a suppressed level of activity compared to more normal times. So we're going to see that bounce back continuing in 2024. So switching over to Oregon, We have several graphs that are set up like this one, so it's indexed to 2019, and it's the recovery of international visitor spending compared to a comp set of states to give you a relative comparison. I'll go further into this, but two messages on this. One, we are seeing strong growth, and we expect it to continue for Oregon. In some of these graphs, it looks like Oregon is trailing that comp set. Some of that, or a big portion of that nuance, is related to data for Canada and Mexico, so I'm going to go into that in a couple slides. So I'm not alarmed by that direct comparison that shows up. And so the overall story is strong growth continuing into 2024. If we think about it on a regional basis, again, this is comparing to 2019, so that dotted line is getting back to 2019, this time adjusted for inflation, so it's real dollars. A couple takeaways from this. One is that global recovery, just sort of total inbound to Oregon, is going to take a while to get back to 2019, right? So we know that this is going to take time. Another takeaway is that when we look at what are the areas that are sort of causing softness in that overall number, it is that North America piece, which is Canada and Mexico, which I'll get to, and then Asia Pacific, that's been slower generally for other regions. But that three of these regions, Latin America, Western Europe, and emerging Europe, which is Turkey, Poland, Hungary type region, that those are recovering pretty well, and we see those lines crossing a bit above the 2019 value a couple years into the forecast. So to touch on, okay, so we have two slides here that I think are really some of the most valuable pieces of this slide deck. This first one is share of visits by origin inbound to Oregon last year. And it shows, of course, the importance of Canada as an inbound market, so over 50% of international visitors inbound from Canada. But then it also shows a really great portfolio of these international inbound markets. I mean, I think this would be the envy of some other states to see, great growing country like Mexico in close proximity, high in the set, but then these traditional core markets, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Japan, just a nice round set of inbound countries that all have strong growth prospects in the future. So that's a great set of the disposition of inbound to to Oregon. And then the second slide that goes with it is where is the growth opportunity that if we go out 6 years or so and we look at the forecast of where the spending is going to come from. This graph is a little bit different than the previous one because it has some stronger growth inbound from Asia. So China bumps up to this number 2 spot. That China number is sort of the baseline forecast inbound from China. I think there's a lot of uncertainty still about that market, that domestic travel has come back quickly and strongly in the country. But there's still constraints on the international travel and still some uncertainty about when that comes back. Is it going to be as strong as people previously anticipated, or is there a shift more to domestic travel? And then when it comes back, is it going to feel different than it did before? Is it going to be similar type groups as before, or is it a different mix of traveler? And then, of course, sort of downside scenarios where if there's more restriction perhaps on travel from China to the U.S. than we might anticipate as retaliation for some geopolitical action, could impact that market in unexpected ways. So something to keep in mind. The numbers there are sort of baseline forecast of how we expect it to recover, which is pretty strongly. So it'll be numbers this year that are twice as many visitors from China than last year. Now last year was suppressed, but strong inbound growth. And then strong growth from areas like Japan, Taiwan, Korea, as well as core growth from UK, Germany, Australia. So a good portfolio of growth. If we go to some of the countries in specific, so this is Canada, and it's a little bit of a stark comparison. It would jump out that maybe Oregon looks like it's lost ground relative to its comp set. That is primarily the result of additional data on land visitors to Oregon that give us a better read than we had in 2019 on the share of U.S. visitors that are coming to Oregon. So I think that our process is to get to the best estimate for each year of spending in Oregon. So this gives us a good base for 2023 that we're looking for growth against. And so we are expecting strong growth in these coming years from that base. And for Oregon to keep pace with its competitive set, I don't see a reason that there's a material deterioration relative to these other states. Similar with Mexico, that some of the data on Canada and Mexico is more limited. And so this is a comparison that I don't think should cause stark concern. I think Oregon's still competitive for Mexico visitors, and that's still going to be a growth market in the future. UK, tremendously important market, great market to have in that core set. Direct air access and a traveling group that is resilient. So despite a UK economy that is more lethargic, these travelers are out there. They're coming to Oregon. It's a growing market in terms of target market households and is anticipated to provide growth in the future. Germany, similar degree, right? Very strong growing market, very strong leisure profile, right, for these countries. These aren't just visiting friends and family, but they're coming here for pleasure trips, and we expect that to continue to grow. India was one that, in the latest data, is jumping out as being a stronger inbound market than we had previously thought for Oregon. Good amount of visiting friends and relatives in that market, but certainly one that provides good exposure and for possible future pleasure growth. So that's the last one that I had. I was just going to leave it that to Todd's reference in terms of overall magnitude of spending. Yeah, for this year, we're looking at forecasts that are over $800 million of international visitor spending inbound to Oregon, so very valuable, over 20% growth from last year. We see all that playing out, and a state that has a lot of positive attributes when it goes out and markets to these types of visitors. So,
thanks, Aaron. I guess just for context, I'll just add, and that's without any return of any Asia-Pacific flights. Yeah. So the nonstop air service that Oregon has had historically is not there, has not returned yet. There is still talk about a potential for a flight to Incheon with Delta, but that forecast has been revised and is always being reviewed as we look at that. Our European service has returned. So, but the Asia Pacific has not. So, with that, I'll ask if commissioners have any questions for either Greg or for Aaron. Harish. Or, I'm sorry, Greg, did you have any closing comments?
I just wanted to shout out, if people can't see it, the comp set we were measuring against, just to let folks know because the print is small. So the comp set we're measuring against is Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, Washington.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Yeah, sorry.
Harish.
Yeah, Greg answered my question.
Okay. Sorry, Harish. Yeah, it's teeny tiny print.
You know your audience.
Wow, that was magical. Thanks. Okay, no, other questions?
And maybe, along the theme of eye charts, I just want to thank you, Aaron. Your graphics are always blue. And as someone who suffers from the most common variety of color blindness, it drives me crazy when I have to compare red and green because I can't. So thank you always for the blue.
I guess. That's a good call.
Is there any data that reflects on international sentiment toward U.S. travel during presidential election years?
I've seen sentiment data recently that does look pretty good for international travelers wanting to come to the U.S. I haven't seen comparisons about what happens during election years. Yeah.
I mean, to generally answer your question, is it quarterly, Todd, that Brand USA does their traveler sentiment survey? So Brand USA does a quarterly travel sentiment survey among kind of key markets, many of the same markets that we deal with. But I've never seen anything directly related to an election year or a presidential election or any election, really.
And then just a comment lastly, the fact that there was even incremental growth year over year for China so far, notwithstanding, the tremendous upside potential, but the fact that there has been even incremental growth in inbound from China is very encouraging. Just as always, thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
So a couple questions here. Yep. As far as the Canadian market and the what's the main driver? I mean, that's a large volume there. What's the main driver for interest of coming? Is it price of flights, or is it the, because we have similar regions, I would think. Is there a contributor to that?
Sure. Why don't you take it, Greg? I was going to add that the land piece is a big portion of the market, but
he answered it.
It's all land?
It's drive.
Okay.
It's that big drive market. We have great airlift to Portland from Canada, from 3 provinces in Canada, the 3 most populous, Ontario, Alberta, and BC. So we do have that, but it is primarily drive.
And then the other question, it would be India. That jumps off the map, obviously, the graphs. What's the purpose of it? Obviously, they have they're a growing middle class and population base. Is that really just the main contributor?
For the growth relative to 19, or?
Just overall. I mean,
overall,
if you look
yeah.
at comparative to most of the different sectors there, India just seems to really pop on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's growing as an origin market, but then strong connections clearly to communities in the state for visiting friends and relatives as well.
Yeah, it's regionally a lot of EFR too. So if you think of kind of the Bay Area up to Seattle, essentially, you'll get people visiting friends, family, coming for vacation. People are visiting for a long time, so they tend to travel to the region. Australia is a great example of that as well. They're going to travel for 3 to 4 weeks. Same thing with India. You're coming from a very long way away. You're going to maybe see friends, but you also want to take a road trip, et cetera. The other thing I wanted to mention, because Scott said China, and we talked about China spiking a little bit, I think this is the 10th anniversary of the 10-year reciprocal visa with China. Is that correct, Todd? So what I've been hearing from a lot of our clients that have stuck around in China that made it through the pandemic is that there's this voracious need to use the time they have left on that 10-year visa. So this next several months, a lot of people are doing it because they're hearing stories about visa wait times, et cetera, and if they have a visa in hand, they want to utilize it.
Which is one of the things that we're working with the federal government on to see if there's ways to expedite the renewals. So for example, if you have a current 10-year, could you renew it without having to go back through the process? You may recall, we've talked about this before in commission meetings, where if you lived in China, family of 4, you wanted to come to Oregon on vacation, all 4 of you would need to travel to one of the consulates somewhere in China. There were 6 locations. If you know how big the country is, you get the idea. Be like you packing up the family and going to San Francisco to do an interview with a family of 4. So it's kind of like you'd take a vacation to plan for your vacation, and it was significant, and it was about $160 a head, and you weren't guaranteed you were going to get your visa. So we've tried to, in working with the State Department, to make sure that this would be a process that, as we near the end of the 10-year, that we're hopefully able to maybe implement video interviewing or renewals for folks that, you can just kind of apply online or through the mail, but don't have to actually be there in person to help expedite that. I also want to touch on, related to China and India, we're hearing the biggest choke point with China is that demand is beginning to grow, but the airlift is way down compared to where it was prior to COVID. So the ability to connect between China and the U.S. is depleted. The opposite is kind of happening in India, where you're hearing about airlines in India buying planes, and putting in orders for more planes. And now you have the most populous country in the world. English is not a barrier. And you've got an emerging middle class. And so we've had our toe in the water in India for almost a decade, working alongside Brand USA in particular. So it's, in that regard, it's not surprising to me to see that kind of response from India. Greg, did I see your hand up earlier?
I had a question. Travis asked my question.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Maria.
Thank you. I had the same question too, but I have another one for you. I'm just wondering if there's any data, if you can, unpeel this a little bit more to find out why they're coming here. Like, what is it that is the specific attraction to Oregon in that competitive set that's drawing the international visitor?
International in general?
Yeah. I mean, why are they coming here? What is it that we are offering?
Depends on the market.
Yeah.
I think especially, if you look at UK, they're looking for space. Probably Germany, the same. You've got a country that's basically the size of Oregon and Washington with 20 million people in it. So they're looking for space. Culinary is a huge draw, especially for the UK and Germany markets. Japan as well is driven to that. It really depends. You know, some Canadians, it could be as simple as we saw some great sales in the tax-free state of Oregon. Let's drive down there and buy a television. You know, I think that we do see that a lot from Canada. So it really varies. I think one of the main draws for the state, as it always has been, is our culinary and our natural beauty. And culinary is so broad, right? It could be beef in Eastern Oregon. It could be Dungeness crab on the coast. It could be wine. It could be beer, spirits, non-alcoholic stuff. I think those stories are out, and we're not quiet about telling them. And I think neither is our network of friends and partners all over the world. They're great at telling that story for us. I think that's the other side of this that we don't get to often address, is we have a great network of customers and clients. Todd mentioned airlift in Canada. Well, I know that Air Canada has redeployed, or in China, sorry, Air Canada has redeployed most of their aircraft to Aussie that would be normally going to China. And I know that because we have a relationship with Air Canada. So a lot of that is the relationships we have, and have developed the time to really share the Oregon experience with them, because we have an experience that's real. It's not artificial. I think, you know, I'm a salesperson, so I can give you a million different reasons, Maria.
I get that, me too. But I was wondering more specifically about, is there a way to track it? To
Oh, yeah,
actually,
that was the gist of your question.
I mean, because I agree with you, but can we really substantiate that? And how?
We've seen like general data, I think, from tourism economics around cultural, culinary. It's very basic, very broad, but like culinary, cultural, outdoor. I think that was from you guys.
The sports and recreation. Yeah, so we have that in place. I think that right now on that data set, it's 2022 data. We said, you know, let's not focus on that. You know, these markets are maybe more likely to revert to what they were in 2019, but as the year progresses, we'll see more 23 data.
And I want to say that's regional. So it's like, I think it's Oregon and Washington in that data. It's not just Oregon, because it's a smaller sample size, really, I think, is what we're dealing with.
I also had a start with why sort of question, but the inverse of Commissioner Ponzi's question, and that is where Oregon's not as competitive with the rest of our comp set. There's a couple of different ways to slice and dice that information. One is something, a perception of what's happening in Oregon, and the other is a perception of what is happening in those other states. So does the data you have reflect any of that sort of information that we might use to guide our decision making?
I mean, from the data that we use, not really. Okay. We have this. We have some confidential data that we get from the airlines, thanks to the airlines and our friends at the port. We have product surveys that we do with all of our in-country contractors to get them to do a product survey, but we don't really have that data, no. Okay. It probably wouldn't be impossible to get. As I mentioned, Brand USA has their sentiment survey. We haven't really gone down the rabbit hole of drilling that down, because they just do it for the US, but I'd be interested in doing some sentiment surveys with our customers, and they'd be keen to do it, because it's only going to benefit them in the long run, because they can optimize the product to sell to their client.
Right.
So great. Does that mean that's going to happen then? Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as just doing a quick intercept with 4 or 6 of our clients in those countries, because we are working B2B rather than B2C, but it would be intercepts on a B2B basis. But yeah, I could easily pull that. I mean, it'd take a couple of months to get it all together probably, but I'd be curious to know, just kind of perception-wise. I mean, some of the perception that you hear, that we've heard, from various things going on in the state, whether that's wildfires or protests or what have you, I think they're just blunted a little bit internationally, because there's so much news coming at people. And often those customers, UK being a great example, they're like, look, I want to go. Like, I'm not going to wait. I want to travel now. I want to travel in business class. I'm not just going to fly coach. This is a big vacation. I'm going to spend it while I have it and while I'm here to spend it. So a lot of those perception questions tend to just go out the window because they're not aware.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stevenson, thank you for that question.
That's a great question.
And Greg, thank you for your due diligence to bring that back to the commission at some point.
We will, yeah, maybe in the fall. Yep.
Okay.
Greg, Aaron, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate your presentation. Moving right along, as Katie and Michael work their way up here. we'll shift from sales to advertising, talking about the advertising campaign and provide you with an update on how the current campaign is performing. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie Clare, who's our Brand Services Director, and Michael Sturdivant, who's our Brand Stewardship Strategist. So.
That was my first slide. Hi, Commissioners. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much for having us today. So, like Todd said, I'm Katie Clare. I'm Director of our Brand Services team on a Brand Services team on our Brand Stewardship team, and Michael is our Brand Strategist. So just say all of that 3 times fast.
On the Brand Stewardship
team as well.
Yeah.
So today we're going to go over the Travel Oregon with Travel Oregon strategy, some of where we have been, and then how we have optimized along the way during the first 7 months of our advertising campaign. Advertising campaigns are a primary tool to create brand awareness and engagement, driving action to a Travel Oregon owned or influenced platform. So this could be inspiration on YouTube, itinerary on TravelOregon.com, or a booking on Expedia, for example. Paid media campaigns reach audiences, inviting them to come visit, to set the tone of who Oregon is, and drive inspiration that stands out and is true to who we are. As a brand, we do this by grounding in our brand idea, which is our true values of guiding travelers through our Northwest Wonderland. We've talked about this before, but Travel Oregon with Travel Oregon is a shift in how we are advertising and marketing the state. So this has been an evolution in our advertising campaigns to really be able to reach our 10-year strategic vision. And we do this by focusing on the 4 objectives that are on the screen that tie to our 4 E's, which is equity, environment, experiences, and economy. This focus allows us to do something that has always been central to our advertising campaigns, which is to optimize and never maximize. To do this work, we introduced our almost always-on advertising campaign, Travel Oregon with Travel Oregon. This campaign has the repeatable construct of Visit Oregon with a Guide, and this lets us do many things within our budget, include being recognizable in market, scalable to different times of the year and seasons, and it's nimble enough so that we can create content for different niches or areas of the state, depending on need. So just as a refresh, we launched our anthem and this advertising campaign on August 1st, and then we ran with our fall campaign through November 30th. Michael is going to walk you through optimizations that we made to the paid media aspect of this campaign during that 18-week time period. And as marketers, this has just been really exciting to be able to have this much data across so many platforms that we're able to really dig in and see the shifts that we're able to make during that long time period to meet the needs that we've set out across many different opportunities and pieces of content. So I'll let him dig into that in just a minute. But before we do that, I just did want to share some of the wins that we had. And so some of these were in the strategic plan progress report, but it's been exciting. So this was through November 30th, but we had over 760,000 sessions to TravelOregon.com. Over 265,000 of those were engaged sessions. And we had over 47 million video completes of different pieces of the creative across broadcast, social media, Google networks, and YouTube. We had over $15 million of return on ad spend with Expedia, and then, which was just one of the OTA partners that we bought against. We had several others that we purchased against as well. And then something that's exciting for us is that we had over 5 million video completes for Spanish language video as well, which is just one aspect of trying to be welcoming to all in this advertising campaign. So we're really excited. There's been a lot of great wins, and I'm going to turn it over to Michael to dig in a little bit more.
Thank you, Katie. Commissioners, Todd, happy birthday. It's Tyler's birthday as well today.
Yeah.
My son.
Michael's son is born today too, so yeah.
I never let Todd forget that. Anyway, so now that you've seen what the Toto campaign is designed to do, I'd like to take you behind the curtain a little bit. To show how we're actively managing our paid media buys to ensure that they're as efficient and as effective as possible. Hopefully this gives you a sense of what it takes to keep this Toto train on the tracks. Thank you. Katie just provided an overview of the new campaign framework. As we've evolved our campaign, we've also had to evolve how we track and optimize our paid advertising for the media buys. Previously, our post-campaign timing approach, as you see on the left column, we only ran 2 to 3 seasons across the 12-month fiscal year period. Now, on the left-hand column, you can see with Toto, more with an always-on approach, we have promotional messages in market at all times throughout the year. Because of this, we've moved primarily from optimizing our campaigns at the mid-campaign points to more of actively managing continuously across the year. So as you'll see, this is an involved and complex process. So we're truly lucky that we have some of the top advertising agencies in the country doing business here in Oregon, and that we get to partner with them on this really important work. We have an incredibly talented team of folks who are in charge of coming up with our innovative strategies for our paid media placements to make sure that different Toto ads are in front of the right audiences at the right times for the right price. With a media environment that's extremely fragmented and with an advertising campaign that is designed to be nimble and flexible, it makes for a complex communication puzzle with a lot of pieces that takes a village to maintain. And the frontline team of this is comprised of Wyden and Kennedy on the second row, who is in charge of overall advertising strategy framework and media placements focused in the traditional media channels like TV, out-of-home, as well as other digital placements, or including over-the-top TV like Hulu, Peacock, online video placements like on YouTube, online travel agencies or OTAs like Expedia and Priceline, native ads, and banner ads. Sparkloft takes care of all of our social media placements on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. And Logical Position covers our keyword search, YouTube placements, additional YouTube placements, and Google Ad Network buys. And our internal team at Travel Oregon is primarily made up of myself, Katie Clare, along with Wade McCarthy. And we're tasked with reviewing the media plans, all the campaign recaps, as well as looking at all the related data. Ariana Bray's suite builds the MVP, or Marketing Vitals dashboard, and campaign tracking URLs along with our website forms. And I'd be remiss if I didn't call out the larger brand stewardship and Travel Oregon teams who also support this process in varying and vital ways. And of course, I have to call out Brian Mullaney, who's in the room, who was integral to the launch of this process with the Toto campaign, prior to recently being promoted to his new position as our strategy research and analytics director over in our Insights and Impacts department. So this is the reporting timeline for the first half of the Toto campaign, and it provides an example of all the touch points the team has with our updated reporting process to manage the performance of our always-on campaign approach. So prior to the launch of each phase of the campaign for Anthem, Behind the Scenes, and Fall Bounty, as indicated by the bolded font, our agency partners built detailed media recommendations, which we at Travel Oregon reviewed and provided feedback on. The plans were then revised based on that feedback. And for a few days after these launches, our team is in tight collaboration to monitor the ad platforms and Google Analytics to make sure all the ads are pointed to the correct landing pages on our website, and that all retargeting pixels are firing. This is an important part of the process because it's easy for links to get broken or misdirected, and for the tracking not to work properly. Excuse me. So at the midpoint of each portion of the campaign, our agency partners provide comprehensive mid-campaign reports that detail campaign performance to date. Are we meeting our key performance indicator goals? Give optimization recommendations by media tactic, and then the Travel Oregon team reviews these reports and provides feedback. And then, similar to the campaign report, mid-campaign report, our ad agencies provide comprehensive final or post-campaign reports that, once again, we provide feedback on. This is where our ad agency partners provide learnings that we can apply to future campaigns. And as you can see from the blue arrow at the bottom of the page, there are additional data sources beyond those reports that we use to monitor and our results during the advertising campaign. These include our MVP, or the Marketing Vitals report, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a bit. The weekly advertising results tracker, or as we call it, the ART, as well as our website analytics through GA4. This is where I have to call out Wade on our team, who has expertly filled the role as our temporary paid media manager and is doing the heavy lifting, parsing through all of these data sets on a daily basis to identify wins and work with the team to determine strategies to capitalize on them. And conversely, to alert the team when there are any poor performing media partners. So essentially, this process is an ongoing feedback loop between Travel Oregon and our agency partners to look at the myriad of data and insights so that our campaigns are running as smoothly and as effectively as possible. So what are we measuring? There's a bunch of different data points that we're looking at, and from, don't worry, I'm not going to take you through all 35 plus data points on this page, but I should. So this is only up for illustration purposes only. It's the advertising results tracker, the ART, which I just mentioned, but so as I mentioned, I'm not going to take you through this, but this is something that we are looking at on a daily and weekly basis. So next page. So however, we do generally focus on a shorter list of primary KPIs to determine that the campaigns are optimized and successful as we use our advertising campaigns to guide consumers through the visitor life cycle, from inspiration, which is illustrated by the outside awareness ring, all the way to an Oregon trip, which is the center of the bullseye. So you'll notice any KPI with a CP in front of it, like CPCV or CPNBS, indicates that we're measuring on a cost per basis. These provide context and allow us to compare similar metrics from different time periods or different partners and different tactics to make sure that we're on an apples-to-apples basis, able to compare that we're spending Travel Oregon's budget as efficiently as possible. So in looking at the first outer ring, we want to build awareness about the Oregon travel experience and inspire the target to put Oregon on its consideration set. We primarily do that through video-based ads, and the CPCV, or cost per completed video, metric allows us to determine which channels most effectively deliver those views. In the second ring in, the traffic driving ads that result in website sessions are very important. And we're very much interested in leading traffic to TravelOregon.com because it indicates a deeper interest in the Oregon travel experience. And our website is where consumers can learn more information about where to plan their trips. We know that media exposures that include a visit to TO.com drive arrivals that are 4.2 times more efficient than those arrivals that were exposed to paid media channels only. That's according to our extraordinary is ordinary, arrivalist and attribution data. So what this means is it takes 4 times the number of advertising-only impressions to generate the same number of arrivals to Oregon as folks who are exposed to both our advertising and our website. So we also know from our visitor profile study that users who visit our website are more likely than the average Oregon visitor to report higher spending while traveling here, an average of 11% more, according to the data. So this potentially adds up to an additional $275 per party trip spend. And Javier wanted me to make sure and tell everyone that that's self-reported. So I've done my duty there. So while generating sessions to the website is an important metric, we work hard to drive engaged or non-bounce sessions, as this indicates a consumer who is likely to be more engaged with the content on our site. An engaged session lasts longer than 10 seconds, has a conversion event associated with it, or at least 2 different page views. So conversions, which is the third ring in, are important, especially around sweeps, as they help us acquire more email subscribers who we can then speak with on a regular basis. And guide orders are a really strong signal of intent to travel. And then in the bullseye, we look to maximize the return on ad spend for those lodging purchases on Expedia and Priceline who were exposed to our ads on those platforms. So I want to quickly take you through 2 examples that show us how we've used our learnings from all this data mining to inform strategic and meaningful optimizations to the campaign. So the first example starts with our Marketing Vitals, or MVP dashboard, which is essentially a monthly report card of how 3 of our top marketing KPIs are performing to goal. It measures the number of folks who are in our own channels, website sessions, guide orders, and email subscribers. Next. So this is essentially the same dashboard, but just focused in on the sessions portion. So while in this example, the Toto campaign had generated over 760,000 website sessions through November 30th, our overall website sessions were down year over year by nearly 25%, which meant that we were behind in total website traffic by over 800,000 sessions for that period. And Ariana on our team called this out when she distributed this dashboard. So given the 2 different strategies for this year's Toto campaign versus last year's ESO campaign, or Extraordinary is Ordinary campaign, this deficit in year-over-year sessions was not completely unexpected. Because even though the 2 campaigns had similar budgets, we had front-loaded last year's ESO campaign ad spend to capitalize on the interest in the Oregon 2022 Track and Field Championships. Conversely, for the first half of the Toto campaigns, we had spent a smaller portion of the budget, and we were also focused for Toto on building campaign awareness through awareness-driving video ad placements. So that allowed us to help better tell the different parts of the Oregon brand story around the guides and our sidekicks. But it also meant that we weren't driving as much traffic to the website either. So what you're seeing here is a progression of how we've begun to fill in the year-over-year gap in sessions. So as mentioned previously, we were down 833,000 sessions by the end of November. And this is where you're seeing how we've made real progress towards filling the gap. So for the winter pulse, we prioritized driving site traffic to the website. And because of Toto's always-on strategy, we have even more spend evenly distributed throughout the year, which is naturally helping us catch up in the second half of the campaign. We worked with logical positions to optimize our keyword search buy, which accounts for nearly 33% of our advertising spend, or advertising sessions to the website, I should say. We were able to adjust our bidding strategies so that our cost per non-bounce session was below our $7 cost per non-bounce session goal, so beat it by about 8%. And additionally, we noticed that our small buy in Bing was coming in at a low cost per non-bounce session, so we adjusted that portion of our keyword search buy up. So with these changes, we've been able to purchase an incremental 43% more engaged search sessions, so that's plus 47,000 engaged sessions for the same budget during our winter campaign. So at this point in the year, we're only down 1% versus the same point last year. And so with the number of sessions that we're calculating for the spring phase of the campaign, we're confident by the end of this fiscal year we'll more than have made up the rest of the gap in sessions and are likely to overshoot our 6.8 million session goal by about 12%, or 800,000 sessions. And Todd likes things conservative. We actually think we're going to beat that, but we're going with the 800,000 for now. So here's another example. So in this example, it's a little bit different than what I took you through with kind of the overall gap in sessions, although this is related to how do we efficiently drive sessions to our website. So in this case, instead of noticing a deficit in the data, Wyden and Kennedy recommended a new native traffic driving partner, Taboola, that they felt would be a good opportunity to help support the launch of the Toto Go with a Guide anthem message while driving website traffic to our campaign landing page. So you've likely seen sponsored native content ads usually hanging around towards the bottom of the page of maybe some of your favorite websites. They usually consist of a headline and brief copy that are paired with a compelling image, which are designed to seamlessly integrate with the content of the website they appear on. They are then delivered across a large network of sites based on topics that are appeal to specific targets. We were skeptical at first because we had tried native advertising platforms over 6 years ago with little success. However, knowing that there have been great advancements in digital technology over that time period, we were willing to invest a small portion of our budget to test out Taboola to learn whether or not it could efficiently drive engaged traffic to the site. And we were pleasantly surprised by the performance of this partner. Since the August 1st Toto launch, it has proven itself to be a strong workhorse, having driven over 470,000 sessions to TO.com. And its cost per non-bounce session of $3.40 is very strong. So anything outside of keyword search that comes in at an under $4 cost per non-bounce session is really good. So overall, our focus on efficiently driving sessions, particularly engaged sessions, is paying off. Even though we've prioritized driving engaged traffic to our site over the past few years, so it's an ongoing focus, the 5% year-over-year lift in engaged site traffic that we've seen so far for the Toto campaign is an indicator that we're still able to move our performance for this important KPI. And our team is committed to exploring new and innovative ways to continually optimize our media buys at every stage along the visitor lifecycle journey. So back to you, Katie.
Thanks, Michael. I know you have a lot more you could share, so I appreciate what you're able to talk about today. All right, so what's next? So spring is coming up. It's going to be 70 degrees on Friday. It's coming. So we have our final pulse of our Travel Oregon with Travel Oregon campaign that we'll be launching. We're going to have $2.3 million in market. We are going to have the primary push of this advertising from March 18th through May 26th. This will feature 3 primary pieces of creative that I shared with you in the fall. It's the 3 other offices, which is Boots, Kayak, Yak, and Dark Sky, which is great timing for the Dark Sky Creative, as you'll keep hearing more about throughout the session, throughout the conference. This is our primary KPIs that we'll be looking at. We're back to video. We're driving brand awareness and engagement throughout this portion of the campaign in our markets that were listed on the previous slide. We'll be buying against OTT, over-the-top television, like Michael was talking about. These are your Hulu. Amazon Prime is a new partner that we're testing for this portion of the campaign. And Peacock will be on a heavy buy on social media. We work with partners with Sparkloff, some of who are in the room, to do a large buy against vertical video, which features the content we film in region, which for the spring portion will feature content from the Mount Hood and Columbia River Gorge region, Southern Oregon, and Central Oregon. So we're either just wrapping up filming or that will be coming out, and we'll have a great buy against that. We, of course, will have paid search on, like Michael was just speaking to, on Google and Bing. OTA, that is our online travel agency partnerships that we'll have with Expedia, Priceline, and Bookings. Native will have a strong buy against our partner Taboola. We're also testing out a new partner, Outbrain, to again just keep testing and trying how are we getting that engaged content to site. Online video, that's the partners that are delivering a lot of ads you typically see on YouTube. We work with a partner, Zephyr, that lets us have some additional targeting capabilities that we're have some behavioral direction we can go there. And then we are also buying against audio, which we had last fall as well. Last fall, if you'll remember, we bought against specific podcasts. We had 12 that we bought against and had great results. But as we continue to see what information and KPIs we can get back from podcast partners, we're looking at a slightly different strategy, which would add time we don't have to this presentation to dive into. But we're looking at audience and behavioral targeting that we're really excited about to see how we can use audio as an awareness and traffic driving partner. So that's going to be coming up in market. The primary buy will end by Memorial Day, but we will have some paid spend in market that will allow us to support messaging through the end of June. So that's it. That's the end of this fiscal year. So what are we doing next? Right now, we are in the creative briefing for next fiscal year. So we're working with our partners at Wieden & Kennedy to determine the creative direction to support the year. And we're really taking a step back to go, what have we learned? How has this campaign framework worked? How do we need to evolve it so that we can deliver on our 10-year strategic vision over the next year? And where do we need to go? So we're looking at a late summer creative pulse focused on supporting the Portland region. Coming into the fall, let me read my slide that's broken for me. Deepen consideration around the areas in Oregon that excel in food and wine. We know we've got that exceptional product statewide. In winter, this is really where we focus on conversion, heads and beds. This is how are we sustaining and driving bookings during that January through March time period. And then next spring, we're looking to have a responsible recreation as one of our primary creative focuses. Throughout all of this is one layer of Hero Creative. There are many different levers that we're pulling. So throughout all of these, we will have, of course, responsible recreation messaging. We will be supporting statewide trip inspiration and planning. So we're really excited to see what this looks like and how we're evolving the Toto universe. So with that, thank you. That's all we have.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Michael. Questions from commissioners? Harish.
How do you choose the secondary market and particularly the opportunity? Because why Chicago and not some other city?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can do a top line answer and then let Michael. It's really a balance of budget. And so we have a wide variety of factors that we look at, from likelihood of travel and volume, daily spend. There's a number of different indicators. And so when we're choosing those secondary markets, it's really propensity to visit and how much impact we're able to have in a balance with markets that those primary that we know are those workhorses that deliver that leisure travel. And so Chicago is one that's super interesting to us, that we keep being really pleasantly surprised by. That I'll let you dive in a little bit more.
Yeah, in terms of kind of that travel volume, that's one factor. But kind kind of the per trip yield as well, is some of that data that we look at. And Chicago has really strong spend when they're in Oregon. So, and I did create a white paper. I think I've shared it. And we'll make sure to get that back out. And it has kind of all of those different data points that we looked at for the different markets.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Katie or for Michael? Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for this presentation in advance. It was very helpful to be able to look through it, so I'm grateful to you. One of the things that I did want to ask is, we talked about 47 million video completes. How does that compare to past campaigns? And can you compare it? Because I know, you're doing campaigns differently.
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Did I stump you, Michael?
You stumped me.
Okay.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'd also say what you'll see too is like even when we were talking about the differences with Travel Oregon versus the Extraordinary is Ordinary, just keep in mind when you see these come back from us too, and Michael will provide you a lot of context, but it's like when we were targeting for ESO, we were going against broadcast exposure for Oregon 22. And so just in its nature, you would have a much broader exposure in that audience versus Toto. We've said Toto so many times. With Toto, we had a much more nuanced targeting that we were trying to hit over that 18-week period. So I'll be interested to see how that breaks down.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
And then I have a second question. So now that we have like a continuous campaign, you talked about how you're pivoting to make sure that you're meeting your KPIs. Is that different from previous campaigns where, to your point, like it's after each campaign, you're looking at it and going, okay, we need to change? How's that? I'm not asking that question very well, but what I'm really trying to drill down to is how are you pivoting and how quickly can you pivot with this new way that we're running the campaigns?
I'll hop in and I'll let Michael be my sweeper. But sure. There's kind of a couple ways that we've been able to do it. One is staffing. So we had our reorganization that when it launched, went into effect July 1. It's allowed team members to have the capacity, like Michael spoke, to having a paid media manager that's able to take the time to look at this information on a weekly basis. Our agency partners have stepped up and delivered it that consistently, and that's been a conversation that we've had of like, we want to see increased reporting, so that has added a layer. How this expanded time period has allowed us to make these pivots is, I'd say, great examples on social media. So we've been really evaluating how our audiences are engaging and how we can improve that regional content that I talk about filming. So we were able to shift even from one region to the next on how we went from capturing that video content to make sure we were meeting the need on platforms. So it's both in our time and ability to pay attention to the data and to have those staggered buys. So we went on August 1 and then throughout. So if we were testing out a different partner, we could have a 2-week time period that we were seeing, like we had native partners that were not as successful as this one. But because we had a smaller time window, we had a small test window where we could evaluate the data, we were able to make some decisions and shift it. And the long time period of the advertising campaign has allowed us to do that. So it's been both in paid media with capacity and the time to make some of those implementations, and then also on the creative side, because we've had the long 18-week window to film and capture some additional creative. We've been able to do some fun stuff.
Thank you.
I think you captured it.
Thanks.
Travis.
So I like the direction you're going with the internet, radio, or the YouTube, or paid channel services. Example, probably a couple weeks ago, a commercial for South Carolina came up and their QR code stood static on there and went through, and I scanned it and learned more about South Carolina and tourism. So I think that's a great aspect there. Have you worked with, you spoke about social media as well. So sometimes I get in these rabbit holes of, you look at all these regions of Oregon specifically, and you'll see a waterfall like the Blue Pool or Silver Falls, and working with these influencers that have a good following and traffic-wise, and then partnering with them to kind of promote content?
Yeah, influencers are a great way to reach an audience that we want to reach that we don't have access to. So, for instance, we were able to work within the campaign. We worked for Willamette Valley regional content. Our guided experience was a self-guided tour along the Great Oaks Food Trail with these two women, Gwen and Amy, for instance, and it was incredible reach. That was great. So, based off of a particular goal, we work with influencers, and we certainly have brought that into this campaign as well. But yeah, it's super interesting. It's always like a nice perspective because getting outside of the Travel Oregon brand and getting some other voices on our channel is always great. And Mo and the team do a lot of that work and have a lot of great ideas.
Appreciate it. Good job. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for your report, and certainly thank you for the advance. So we had time to look at the report and its detail, and great work. I wondered if there was some collaboration, or maybe there's a lot of collaboration between our international team. It was shared that the Spanish-speaking or Spanish modules were seeing increased traffic, and I wonder if there's opportunities there for outreach campaigns that we might see in different languages.
Yeah, I think we are really lucky to work with Greg and his team often. We're really, how our advertising campaigns have the most overlap is with, we brought back Vancouver, BC as one of those target markets. So like the out-of-home that Greg was able to speak to, we have the campaign in market. We were able to add that information about the outdoor adventure show to the some of the exposures. We are, as you can see, as those international markets continue to come back, it's the balance of how when we get to have a consumer campaign back in some of those markets. So I think that's a goal of ours, is to have a stronger consumer advertising message in a lot of our international markets, and we work really close to see who might be ready for that or where we might have that exposure. And it's still something that's building back. We were able to bring, I think, before COVID, one of our great wins was we brought the Only Slightly Exaggerated campaign to Tokyo, which was really fun to bring it to Japan. And we hope as we continue to recover in the international space that we'll be able to have some of those great wins again.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and I just kind of add to that, just having the global sales team in the brand stewardship department has already kind of started to reap benefits. I mean, Greg and I are starting to connect more on an ongoing basis, and that's exciting. So I'm looking forward to kind of deepening that relationship and kind of some of the results that will come out of it.
Well, thank you both very, very much for the presentation. Appreciate the good work. Commissioners, we're going to take, if we can, like a 5-minute break. Okay, we have 3 presentations left. This is the proverbial 50 pounds of information in the 5-pound sack, and but there's so much good work to share with you. So let's, if we could, we'll take like a 5-minute break. You can refill the coffee cups to the water glasses. Michelle, you and your co-presenters can get teed up, and we will be right back. All right, commissioners, if we can find our seats, please, we'll go ahead and get started. Boys, please. I have quorum. All right. Commissioners, our next update today brings our interim director of stewardship investments together with 3 partners that have all been recipients of some of our most recent grants. You may recall from some of our previous conversations, either at commission meetings or in the updates that I provided, the strategic plan progress reports, that we recently gave out $3.6 million in grants that were specifically focused on accessibility and inclusivity. So it's my great pleasure at this point to turn this part of the program over to Michelle Woodard, who is our Interim Director of Stewardship Investments. Michelle?
Thanks, Todd. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Nice to see all of you. As Todd mentioned, I'm the Interim Director of Stewardship Investments, Michelle Woodard. And I have a few grant recipients here next to me, which I will introduce in just a few moments. So today's presentation is actually focused on our recently completed grant cycle of our capacity and small project grants. And I know we touched on this a little bit at the December commission training, and you were excited to hear some of the results from these projects, so we're here to share. And I'm actually pleased that Angie, in her welcome, touched on the Resilient Headwaters project, as that was funded through this cycle as well. All right, since it's been a while, here's an overview of the program on the screen. This was new ground for Travel Oregon. We hadn't funded capacity building through our grant program before, and we narrowed our eligible applicants to DMOs and federally recognized tribes with the intention of funding as many of them as we could. Those funds were intended to develop and refine skills, systems, structures, and strategies so that the awarded organization could successfully fulfill its mission and achieve outcomes that are more impactful. We stayed broad in what types of projects and funding that we would support. We wanted the applicant to tell us, based on their capacity, on their mission, centered around tourism, where they needed the most support. So what happened? We had 45 applications awarded funding, and of those, 40 projects were centered around capacity. We also had an option to choose funding to support small projects, but nearly everyone used the funds to support capacity building. These projects were completed by the end of 2023, and Travel Oregon received final reports on how things went in mid-January. What was the impact of this funding? One of the questions we ask in our final report that the grant recipients are required to submit is this: in 3 sentences or less, describe the impact these funds made in helping your organization. Simple, but meaningful. We started asking this because we wanted a poll quote, a concise soundbite. What did these funds mean? And I'll tell you, there's some pretty powerful quotes, especially from this funding cycle. Sometimes you read the answer to the question about the impact of funds, and you realize 3 sentences is just not enough. You need more. You want more. Our investments team is currently in the process of surveying capacity grant recipients to get additional information around the impact and timing of capacity needs to help inform whether another capacity funding cycle would be beneficial and how it could be shaped. 3 sentences isn't enough. So today we have more. We have 3 recipients here that are going to tell us about the impact that these projects made from the grant funds, or the impact the grant funds made to their projects in their community. So joining me today are Jennifer Piper, Executive Director of the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, Marley Boxler, Economic Development Coordinator for the City of Troutdale, and Tori Middlestat, the Executive Director of Visit Grants Pass. So Jennifer will start us off.
All right, well, as mentioned, I'm Jennifer Piper, Executive Director of the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, and I just want to start by briefly setting the stage for what our current organizational structure looks like, as well as the area that we're located and serve and represent. So the Wallowa County Chamber has a staff of 2, so I'm one of a staff of 2. We are located over in the northeastern-most corner of the state, near Washington and Idaho. And I just want to give that brief context because capacity is something that we have to be so cognizant of for anything that we put our effort into. The project that I'm going to talk to you about today is a small project. You might have seen it was $3,600, not a whopping dollar amount. But even though this is a small project and maybe comparatively to other projects was not large, this has been transformative for our organization and our area nonetheless. So our project, funded by the Capacity and Small Project Grant, began as needing to develop an employee handbook and expanded to identifying a need for a strategic development process. So the need for an employee handbook was first identified by our board in 2020 as they began to seek a new executive director for the organization for the first time in over 20 years. That ended up being me. And I think that this often happens for small organizations is you don't necessarily realize that you're missing a key document and guidance for your staff until you are in fact seeking those new staff members. I really realized this in 2021 after coming on board at the end of 2020 when I went to find a new second staff member. It's really challenging to grow when you don't have your stabilizing fundamental guardrails in place. So this led us to pursue funding to develop an employee handbook. Our initial objectives for this project were to establish up-to-date personnel policies. Anything that we did have was full of gaps or extremely outdated. We wanted to provide guidelines for our staff to be able to be successful in their roles. And we needed compliance review to ensure continued operational stability for our organization. We accomplished this by partnering with Cascade Employers Association, which is an HR consulting agency, and they helped us create an extremely robust and comprehensive employee handbook. We wrapped up that project towards the end of 2023, so just last year. And as part of our contract with Cascade Employers Association, we will have ongoing support and compliance review for the next 2 years, which is very helpful as there continues to be evolving components around paid leave Oregon, for example. One of the outcomes of this project that I was really excited about and did not necessarily anticipate was the ripple effect that this had on our area. Our efforts to complete this handbook not only was a benefit to the Wallowa County Chamber, but was able to serve as an example to other organizations in the tourism sector. In fact, 2 local Wallowa County organizations have already initiated similar projects that they realized they also needed. And this project has influenced discussion for our Regional Visitors Association as well about completing this type of work. All of this contributes to the broader context in Eastern Oregon of allowing some of these small organizations to continue to do their work well while operating from a position of strength. An additional impact of this project was as we got into developing an employee handbook, it led us to ask the question, what other work do we need to be doing right now to set up a framework for future success for our organization? And we realized we really need a strategic plan. So we began working with a consultant, Unbridled Strategies, to go through this process for the chamber. And the capacity grant funding that we received was able to support the first phase of this project, which included an organizational assessment. We were able to hold 3 different community workshops throughout Wallowa County. We conducted a stakeholder survey and a board insights workshop. This is resulting in a shared vision for our organization, identifying strategic priorities and tangible tactics that will guide our future decision making. So next, I'm excited to finish this project, which will result in a formalized strategic plan. And then ultimately, the most fun part, plan implementation. So in summary, what started as a simple need for an employee handbook really sparked a dual-pronged transformation, both internal for our organization and external facing. The capacity building funds that we received have positioned us for sustained influence and impact in our local community, in our region, and beyond. And I just want to say thank you to Travel Oregon for your continued support and partnership of this type of work. Even when it's small, it's transformative. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Todd. Thank you for having myself and these other amazing DMOs here to share a bit about the capacity building work we were able to do through Travel Oregon's 2022 grant program. To give you all a little bit of context, before I begin, the City of Troutdale took over Troutdale's tourism efforts, the management and the marketing efforts in July of 2020 and created our Tourism and Economic Development Division, which I'm the manager of. Similarly, we have a staff of 2, so very little internal capacity with our organization. While we had been doing tourism for years, we were really starting from scratch, which gave us the opportunity to approach destination management strategically. Sorry, I'm coordinating these 2 things, which aren't moving. The decision to apply for this grant actually came out of participation in another Travel Oregon program, the Destination Boot Camp, which was so helpful in creating a solid foundation in tourism education and resources. We knew we needed a strategic plan to guide us. However, as a very small staff with shared duties across different divisions, we knew we didn't have the capacity to do this work alone. With the grant, we were able to hire a cross-current collective to lead the strategic planning process and Lookout Co. to help us create a marketing plan. Unlike a lot of other DMOs, I don't have a board of directors to work with, just our city council. So we convened a project advisory team made up of diverse tourism partners in our areas, which are listed in the presentation. I'm going to spend a little bit of time going over some destination management topics and terms that many of us here in the room are familiar with. But I want you to imagine yourself in the shoes of my community members and leaders while I'm going over these, because many of these things are topics and terms that they had learned for the very first time. Troutdale is a town that has always seen the potential in itself as a destination, but never known how to get there. They've tried one-off projects over the years, but what it's always lacked was a cohesive and aligned strategy behind the work that was being done and guiding the work with the tourism partners. Our goal was to understand our shared values and vision in order to create a roadmap to guide us how to get there. Many members of our community thought that tourism equated marketing, but it's so much more than that. We were able to educate them that marketing is only a piece of the pie, and through this process, they were able to learn that rather than solely focusing on marketing, we needed to focus on destination management, and that development, marketing, and stewardship are all pieces of this management. In reframing this mindset, we placed destination management at the forefront of our work. At this point in time, a lot of our focus and efforts need to be on destination development to enhance and grow the visitor experience. One key component of our strategy was visitor and stakeholder research. This involved conducting surveys with our tourism partners and visitors, something our community had never done before. This provided key insights which guided the strategy. Our goal was to have a roadmap for the future that created destination alignment, fostered sustainable development, and focused on values-based marketing. This process helped bring our tourism industry together and align us moving forward. The process was really robust, and it took many months to conduct. And again, I want to stress how impossible this work would have been if we hadn't been given the support by Travel Oregon to seek out industry leaders like Cross Current Collective and Lookout Co. to assist us. As you can see, it took many months, and there's lots of moving pieces along the way. After conducting our background research, the first thing we set off to do was understand the community values, which are the backbone to a community's culture. These values help us celebrate and retain our community's culture. So on the screen, I have a page from the final strategy where you can see that. But our community values small town character, care for others, stewardship, thoughtful human scale development, and local pride. Once understanding our values, we painted a picture of our vision of success. We heard from our stakeholders on so many opportunities, but you'll see how many of these opportunities show up in our vision and our strategy. Our 15-year vision of success sees Troutdale as a destination that embraces its role as the gateway to the gorge, serving as a jumping-off point for embarking on a world-class recreation experience in the Columbia River Gorge and Mount Hood region with the focus on car-free travel. Troutdale's vision is also to be a destination in its own right, drawing explorers who seek a taste of authentic small-town life surrounded by phenomenal natural riches. Visitors can enjoy outdoor recreation in the gorge or on the mountain, or they can stay closer to town and enjoy a slow afternoon floating or fishing in the Sandy River and shopping in downtown Troutdale. From our values and vision, we were able to create 4 strategic impact areas which will guide the work we do, money we spend, and decisions we make. As you can see, the strategic impact area for connect and build our tourism ecosystem is an overarching strategy that touches each of the other strategic impact areas. This is crucial to our success as we recognize we can't do it alone and we're stronger together. Of our topic-based impact areas, we have becoming the gateway to the Columbia River Gorge and base camp for car-free travel, increasing connectivity with this wild and scenic Sandy River while protecting its ecological values, and improving the vibrancy of our quaint downtown by evolving the visitor experience. The plan dives deeper into each of these strategic impact areas with medium-term outcomes, short-term outcomes, KPIs, and priority projects. In summary, I want to thank Travel Oregon for supporting Troutdale in its destination management and development efforts. These funds made it possible for us to do work that we wouldn't have had the time or resources to do. By working with professionals in the industry, we've been able to engage our community and visitors and define a clear roadmap of success to meet our vision. We are now able to allocate our time and resources wisely to get us there. This will guide us for years to come, and I feel confident that where we are headed reflects our community's vision and values. And I had planned on printing it for you, but I didn't get around to that. So if anyone would like a copy of it, my email is on the screen, and I'm happy to send it to you. But thank you again so much for your time and your continued support, and looking forward to what the future holds in Chowtown.
Thank you, Margaret.
Hello again, Commissioners. Thank you so much for your time today. My name is Tori Middlestadt, and I'm the Executive Director of Visit Grants Pass. I will be speaking a little bit to our capacity grant, and we actually applied for the grant more as like a fiscal agent for supporting another community within our county. So the role of Visit Grants Pass, we are the destination marketing and organization for Grants Pass in Josephine County. We do have some funding limitations in that our funding is collected within the city limits. There is no county level local tax. And our little community in Cave Junction, which if you are not familiar where that is about 30 minutes south of Grants Pass on Highway 199 and is the literal road junction to go up to the Oregon Caves National Monument. They have no TLT tax. They also have no lodging property in their community at this time. And the closure of the chateau took 30 jobs from that community from those who operated in that facility. And so they are a major point to one of our top visitor destinations in our state. And so it's really important that we partner and help lift the Illinois Valley and Cave Junction. One of our funding sort of difficulties is that my city council is very understanding of marketing all of the assets of Josephine County. They are less understanding of their money leaving city limits to improve other areas. I may not be alone as a destination fighting this battle. So when I am able to apply for funds, such as these great ones from Travel Oregon, I am able to gift and provide those olive branches out to those communities that are important to the Grants Pass and Greater Josephine County visitor experience. So capacity sharing. Cave Junction actually has an established 501c3 Main Street organization. They literally have zero funding. The person who runs their Main Street also runs their farmer's market, also has her own farm, and also has her own small business on the Main Street of Cave Junction. That's a lot of hats to wear. The opportunity there is this organization is working really hard to clean and bring Caves Junction forward in this community that obviously has not fully recovered from the logging bust. And being that gateway community to the Caves National Monument is really important that our visitors feel safe and welcome in that community. Now in Grants Pass, we're in a slightly different spot. Visit Grants Pass is a newer DMO. We were reestablished in 2021, when in 2020 the last DMO refused to renew their contract. They were a private company. We were the first 501c6 organization the city has worked with. And so the limitation of being a private company is your bosses are the city council, of which who hands you money, and you don't have a board to say, thank you for that feedback, I'll bring it to my board and see if it's part of our strategy. There wasn't that buffer there. So when that organization was then tasked to being essentially the community event maker with no extra funding, they basically stopped marketing and were creating events, and so burned out the person that they just were done. And in that process, there was at one point a town center association that was so devalued by this decision that it closed its doors too. And now our Main Street and downtown has no organization exclusively representing our downtown area. We do have a Chamber of Commerce, but they do serve all areas of industry and all areas of Josephine County as well. So I'll start with diving a little deeper into the Cave Junction work. The process was to really engage the community and make a strategic plan. This organization without funding had no formalization of where they want to go. They have lots of great project ideas, but they're not sure how to get there. It provided a board workshop and education, and then also on top of that, the consultant was able to help give them a plan to find sustainable funding to be that full-fledged organization they hope to be. So their big tangible deliverables was their strategic plan, as well as some sustainable funding strategy documents. Our consultant that we worked with is Jason Snyder of Civic Possible. We worked with our RFP process. We had community stakeholders from Cave Junction be a part of the RFP with Visit Grants Pass, so they got to help also decide which consultant worked in their community. And one of the things, I won't read the whole quote, but that Jason mentioned was how much this group of about 5 or 6 people is able to achieve in this community while they all wear approximately 4 to 6 hats getting stuff done in the community. I am going to read this quote from Megan Pugh of the Illinois Valley Chamber because I really want it to show exactly how impactful these funds are in what is actually one of the most underserved communities within Oregon. Cave Junction is a place where individuals are already carry multiple responsibilities, making capacity a primary barrier to progress. Compounded by limited funding, these challenges often lead to a frustrating cycle of stagnation. In a community where the burden of progress rests heavily on the shoulders of a few dedicated individuals, this strategic planning effort, fueled by funding, has empowered our community to overcome. The significance of this work extends beyond mere outcomes. It's about nurturing a sense of hope and empowerment within the community and has long felt marginalized and overlooked. Throughout the collaboration of strategic foresight, Civic Possible, and Main Street Cave Junction, supported by Travel Oregon and Visit Grants Pass, are not just facilitating change, they are cultivating a legacy of resilience and possibility that will endure for generations. So that's directly from one of the main community members who worked on this project and the impact that was felt by them. When you move into the Grants Pass side of our project, we need to reform a downtown organization. Those businesses need representation, whether it's for advocacy, whether it's for events to get people downtown and shopping and dining and doing all the things we need in a robust downtown. We also needed to gauge the community appetite for what are the needs the businesses are asking for. We have a select few that are very involved, but there's many more businesses and many more opportunity to find out exactly how and what this organization can do for that group. So the tangible deliverable here was a roadmap, and it's literally written as, and I can share it, Michelle has it, we can share it out, it's a choose your own adventure. So we did over a course of a year community surveys, in-person surveys with our business owners. We also did several workshops that identified what is the work that they would like this organization to be, what sort of funding would they like to see, what's the appetite from the business owners to even pay into this sort of process. And so the roadmap helps show, with examples from other communities, how is it a volunteer, the pros and cons of that? Is it getting a 501c3? Is it becoming a formal Oregon Main Street organization? What are the funding possibilities? It could be membership, it could be grant funded. There's even the strongest suggestion is to do an economic development district. So that roadmap has been created, and then our final session was a meeting that engaged over 60 community and business owners that established those who literally stood up in front of that group of 60 to say, I'm going to be a part of the steering committee. We're going to take this roadmap and we are going to turn it into an organization for our community. So I think Jason very succinctly said it, where Grants Pass was really caught in this whose role is it conundrum. We all have Venn diagrams of where us and the chamber overlap, but they have a lane in other areas that I don't touch. Same with our city. They have economic development. The vibrant downtown is important, but they don't have the capacity or the ability to lead this sort of organization either. And so what it did allow from our city economic development is to have an efficient process and a roadmap made at a faster pace than what government might have been able to do on their own. And speaking on the greater community, when I came in and this void happened, our whole goal of our organization was to help backfill the void so that we can continue our focus of what we're supposed to do and properly spend our TLT money, and then have this organization that creates that robust downtown that is the visitor experience we all want to have. So really, what were the grants impacts? It really addressed funding limitations. It addressed capacity. The fact that there was no cash match requirement, so I could really tell City Council, this cost you nothing, and I gifted this bitch to our community, really meant a lot in our community. The one barrier of this program was what you were able to apply for was based on what your general budget was as an organization, and those with the smallest budget likely need the most capacity help. And so in Cave Junction's example, the chamber actually applied, and I believe they did receive a capacity grant too. No? Okay. They did apply, but they couldn't even apply for the full amount of the ask based on their budget. And so I was able to apply on their behalf because I didn't actually need that full $50,000 grant ask. I was able to share it. And so that's one minor barrier. I understand probably the thought process of why that exists, but that is what led to us having, let's do a joint project. Let's see how we can gift you. Let's see how we can bring you along. And we say that rising tide raises all ships. We say that a lot in our community and as a state. And so that was our goal behind the project. So, Michelle.
Thank you, Commissioners. Excuse me, I wanted to once again thank Jennifer, Marley, and Tori for being here today, for sharing their story. I think it's very clear that 3 sentences isn't enough. And so we're open for any questions you might have.
Erin.
Yeah, I just appreciate so much that you're all here. And I did not say this in my introduction, but I'm also the founding board chair of Visit McMinnville. And I'm about to term out after 8 years in that role. And back in 2015, when our community was trying to decide how we wanted to implement TLT funds and how to create a DMO, which it sounds like you're all in the process of having these same types of conversations, we reached out to Travel Oregon to try to engage Travel Oregon in that process. And at that time, Travel Oregon didn't have a vehicle to do that with us. And so we got creative. We worked very closely with Visit Bend. Travel Salem was really generous in coming in and talking to us as we were trying to create our own strategic plan and roadmap. But I just really appreciate the value of these capacity building grants, because if Oregon wants to be a destination that people want to visit, really Oregon is a collection of communities, both large and small, and we have to have incredibly strong DMOs at the local level to create experiences that attract people to our state. And so when Travel Oregon is getting involved in this space with capacity building grants, helping especially our smaller communities have the capacity to create the experiences that bring people here, that is such a boon to the entire state. And so I'm so excited to see these capacity building grants happening. Coming from a small town too, I so recognize the value of these types of investments that Travel Oregon is able to make, and I applaud you. I know you wear so many hats in a small town. We all do, and thank you for doing the work you're doing. And I think great things are going to happen in all of I know great things are happening in all of your communities, but I think this work is really going to take you to the next level in terms of your life cycle as a destination. So kudos to all of you, and kudos to Travel Oregon and the Commission for supporting this work. It's really inspiring. Thank you.
I just want to say as well, thank you for all 3 of you showing up today. Marley, I want to say this. Troutdale was an area that I would only drive through, okay? And the work that you've done, and I know of some of the challenges, it's just been amazing. From the visitor centers to the businesses there, it is truly a destination stop now. So my family and I, we stop there on a regular basis when we're passing through the areas. But just kudos to you for the work you've done.
And can I please chime in and do the same for Tori? Grants Pass likely is a place that we drive through, and they need help. Those towns need help. So thank you for the work that you're doing now. I really appreciate that.
As someone who is also from a small town, I appreciate the presentations. Commissioner Stevenson, you're so eloquent in your words. It's hard to follow that, but what I will say is what I appreciate most, because Travel Oregon came into Coos Bay many years ago and did much of what is happening for you right now, and it's contagious, and you've already spoke to it. So the fact that you're engaging your city councils, right, who never want to spend money, and I can attest to that because I'm on city council, right, but it becomes contagious and it becomes larger than just a plan, everything that you're speaking to. So I really appreciate the work. I'm thrilled that you focused on rural Oregon because I think, as Erin said, there are so many wonderful small communities in this area, and unless you get out and experience it, you simply do not know. So congratulations, yay Travel Oregon, and thank you, Michelle, for bringing this group to us. Oh. I agree, yes.
Thanks, Michelle. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Who cued the aromatherapy that's wafting into the room? Is it just me, or do other people smell food being cooked here? Oh my gosh, somebody started the barbecue. Alexa, that's what you have to contend with. It said somebody started the barbecue. Commissioners, I'm personally very excited and pleased to bring this next presentation forward. I don't think we've had a presentation on rare in a while, if ever, but I'm going to say in a while. But I'm a huge fan of this program and what it means for our industry, what it means for rural in particular, and we'll hear more about that in just a moment. But I am very excited to turn this part of the program over to Alexa to talk about. A very exciting program that we've had the pleasure of supporting for several years now, the RARE program. Alexa, I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. So let's keep the focus on rural for just a little while longer. So it's great to get this time with you. Thank you so much for today's conversation. We're excited to share a little bit more about the RARE program. I want to be able to welcome several people here alongside me. We have Titus from the RARE program, we have Erica from the Oregon Coast Visitors Association, and Elena from Eastern Oregon Visitors Association. So those are the folks that we have in the room. We're going to be able to share the opportunities that we've had with partnership and collaboration with the RARE program. There's a lot of acronyms that I can throw at you. This is a partnership that's been going since 2016, so about 8 years, with the University of Oregon, IPRE, Institute of Policy Research and Engagement, yes, RARE, Resource Assistance for Rural Environments program that's based out of the university. And this has been an opportunity for us to have placements that are based in rural Oregon, to have highly catalytic projects that are focused on destination development, management, and stewardship. A lot of this capacity has been an outgrowth of an Oregon Tourism Studio process since 2016. So as you've heard, especially coming through Michelle's last panel, there's such a desire for capacity, especially in rural areas. And that doesn't just focus on just DMOs, but also our regional partners as well. So we're gonna have an opportunity to hear how RARE has been catalytic in combining basically capacity from all the way from the Oregon coast to Eastern Oregon. So today you'll hear from a program director, an alumni, a supervisor, and some of us who have multiple hats. So doing this work has been highly catalytic to supporting communities and building leaders that are moving forward and carrying in generations. These RAREs have been incredible catalysts for a lot of key projects that you've seen highlighted at various commission meetings over the course of the last few years, whether that's the Wild Rivers Coast Food Trail that some of the RAREs today and alumni have built, whether that's looking at the Umpqua Valley Food Trail, some of those other projects, or even outdoor recreation maps, and a lot of the community engagement. So having the ability to be as a DMO or an RDMO and be those boots on the ground, that consistent communication piece that's building that capacity and connection, so people don't look around anymore and say, who is Travel Oregon in our communities? And so you're starting to see that whether you're in Bandon or Klamath Falls, Prineville, Roseburg, Phoenix, Cave Junction, Woodburn, Astoria, basically all over the state. I could name so many. In collaboration with Titus and Liz from the RARE program, we've had such an opportunity to bring that capacity in a very tangible and calculated way that's very intentional to build on where capacity needs to be dedicated the most. And this partnership, while it has been going formally since we say 2016, it's actually been a little longer than that. And I say this specifically because these relationships were forged a decade ago, because I myself had an opportunity to be a RARE placement. And looking around the room, I don't know how many people started in tourism, but admittedly, I didn't. I started in economic development. My goal was to be able to support rural communities, and rural has been in my job description or in my title since I started, coming out of 2012. So when I had an opportunity to join the RARE family, it was with UIDC under the Cow Creek Tribe for their Umpqua Business Incubator, an opportunity to support small entrepreneurs, including those in tourism, who wanted to make a difference in their communities while leveraging the economic benefits of starting their own business. So it was an incredible opportunity for me, but also is because it was right after the 2008 financial crisis, and I was seeing small businesses and main streets just shuttering, and it was heartbreaking, especially because my hometown, we're 2,000 people from Gold Beach. So seeing this impact and having an opportunity to engage in RARE was incredibly catalytic and something that I found so valuable. So while I didn't start in tourism, I had the opportunity to build so many skills in this space. And I'm so thankful for this opportunity. So now we get to highlight what some of those partnerships have looked like so you can see those impacts as well. Because so many of these people are in the room and supporting the state. So I'm going to pass it over to Titus.
Well, I often say that it's all about the people we meet along the way and the relationships that I have been able to develop via this program. I just need to say that they run straight to my heart. And to sit here in front of you with a supervisor, 2 rare alumni, to get to share our story of service, the story of impact that we've had over not just the last 8 years, but for the program, the last 30 years. So again, my name is Titus Tomlinson. I'm Program Director of the Resource Assistance for Rural Environment's AmeriCorps program, better known as the BRARE program. I want to put a pin in a few things. First and foremost, we are an AmeriCorps program that focuses on giving back to rural Oregon. This is a year of service, so each of our members are dedicating 1,700 hours, 11 months of their life to go back to rural Oregon to create positive change. I firmly believe there is no better place in space to create positive change for the next generation than rural. Opportunities are endless. Also need to point out that we're a graduate level service learning program. So every one of our members comes to this program with at least a bachelor's degree and 6 months of experience. Also important to note that we bring people from all across the country out here. And so this is a really neat cross-cultural exchange and learning experience for many of our members as well. And we've just gotten to hear about the importance of capacity. I think I need to really put a pin in the fact that capacity is often the missing link for many rural communities in helping them be the best that they can truly be. Getting to come to rural Oregon and ultimately have our members take on place-based work that is truly identified and driven by the community itself, while making sure that we're wrapping around them, giving them the tools and resources they need, helps build up the next generation. And so what I love about this graphic is it's just, we are operating within the realms of the win-win. Getting things done for rural Oregon, building up the next generation. What a special place to operate. I often say, when it comes to rural, together we can. And that's just to note the power of partnerships and collaboration. Todd, you've been talking about the work that, you were just talking about the work that we've been doing together. I just want to acknowledge the partnership that we've had for 8+ years with Travel Oregon as one of our statewide partners. We have 10 statewide partners that we work with very closely, Travel Oregon being one of them. And I have to give a lot of kudos to this amazing human to my left over here for being the inspiration of this partnership. Truly believe that collaboration is the most effective path forward for many rural communities. In fact, I would say that for just about every community. And when I talk about the collaboration that we have with Travel Oregon, I think it's just important to note this notion of what I like to call link, leverage, and align. And that's just to say that we take Travel Oregon tools, resources, support, training, funding at times. We take that and we wrap that around our members and we help position them for success. And I really do believe that is a recipe for getting things done. It's truly a recipe for success in rural Oregon. So that success ultimately comes in 2 forms. As I was just noting, it's place-based impact, it's getting things done for rural Oregon. What I want to point out with regards to this map that you're looking at here is this is admittedly a little bit dated. It's from 5 years ago, but point being here, as you look at this map, you can recognize that we've served in every county in the state of Oregon. And again, each of those dots or those markers, which again, as the marker gets bigger, just represents more placements in that region. It's not just a marker. It's 1,700 plus hours of service. It's 11 months of giving back. And as I look at this map, I don't just see markers. I see stories of service. I see the food trails that have been referenced, the networks that have been developed, the Willamette River Recreation Trail that is in the midst of development. I see mountain bike access. I see whitewater recreation. I mean, I see the story and I see the impact. And I can tell you for rural, tourism is one of those economic development tools. And we have to be leaning into it. The ability to embed capacity and really lean into tourism as an economic driver for rural communities has really been a game changer. With regards to our 30 years of service, just a few statistics. We've had well over 600 members come through this program, majority of whom are here in Oregon, continuing to give back. Over those 30 years, we're looking at over 1 million hours of service to rural Oregon, nearly $1 billion raised. This is an impactful program. As we look specific to our work just with Travel Oregon, looking back at the last 8+ years, We've got 48 full or partial placements that have been supported by Travel Oregon, equating to nearly 64,000 hours of service that we have done together. Something to be proud of. I will have to say I had goals to go back and kind of do a comprehensive impact analysis for you all, and as I started to dig in, I got pretty overwhelmed in the best of ways. And so kept it pretty high level, but just know, again, there's so much fantastic work that has been done over the years, place-based for the community. So now I want to move forward to the second part of the story of impact, which is, again, that building up the next generation. And this is the piece that, admittedly, I hold very, very dear as an alumni myself. I think you need not look past the agenda and or those that have received awards via Travel Oregon over the course of the last few years to recognize we have built up a generation of leaders in this field. I also want to take a moment, because I love to do this when I'm in a room like this, to just ask anybody that's in the room that either is a rare member, a rare alumni, or a rare supervisor, previous or current or past, to just raise their hand so that we can get a glimpse of how many folks have been touched by this program. We have made a difference, we continue to make a difference, and again, it's about the people we meet along the way. The last thing that I want to say before I pass this on is it really is that, it's the building up of the next generation, it's that long-term embedded capacity. That is the gift that keeps giving. When we can bring somebody to Wallowa County, have them work through a term of service and stay there to continue to give back, that's real impact, that's sustained impact. Thank you once again for the time that you've given, and thanks to the rest of the folks on this panel for helping tell our story. Together we can make a difference.
Thank you, commissioners. Is this loud enough? Okay. Thank you, commissioners, for letting me be part of this conversation. The only person on this panel that is not a rare member but loves the program. Excited to be here, and also excited to be here at the Governor's Conference, which is just about to kick off. And looking over the agenda, workshops, and keynotes, I'm just so appreciative of the work that Lisa and Matthew and the Travel Oregon team have done in putting together a great event, but an event that really reflects Travel Oregon's 10-year strategic vision. Like, they nailed it. I'm really excited about the conversations we're going to have. And when I think about that vision and I'm thinking about the conversations we're going to have in the upcoming days, I have to wonder as a regional DMO, how are we going to do this? How are we going to develop those partnerships? How are we going to develop these programs and projects in order to get this work done? And there's one word that really comes to mind for me, and that is innovative. And I was like, I wonder how many times that word came up in the 10-year vision, or innovation. Any guesses how many times it came up? Just take a wild guess. There's
47.
47?
20.
20? Okay, it came up one time, but in a really beautiful way in the introduction. So I wanted to read these two sentences because I think it's so key for this conversation, but also what we're going to be talking about over the upcoming days. Admittedly, our role isn't always leading as much as it is learning, witnessing the development of strategic initiatives in action and growing alongside partners to support them, using the relationships we've built with natural resource management agencies and innovative organizations. We've seen new collectives form, bringing entities together to wade through challenges and find solutions. And I think that the collaboration we have between Travel Oregon, the RARE program, and the Oregon Coast Visitors Association is a shining example of an innovative partnership in action, and I'm so delighted to just briefly mention it. So last year we took a step forward in our sustainable tourism journey in collaboration with the RARE program and introduced a new position to our team, which was the Coastal Tourism Resiliency Coordinator. I know, that's a good title. And that position was filled by an incredible human named Finn Johnson, who I think is somewhere in the room, and I'm really excited to brag about him today. Yeah, everyone knows Finn.
So he was really focusing on several key areas, including EV infrastructure, sustainable business outreach, feasibility of transportation systems, donation systems, and in general, just sustainability resourcing. And all of this was in an effort to support our work and our mitigation, adaptation, and resiliency work at ACFA, which is pretty new in the last couple of years. So with sustainable business practices, Finn spent the year driving and zooming all over 363 miles of the Oregon coast. He ended up meeting with directly 150 businesses talking about sustainable tourism practices and the opportunities that that could bring to our region. In that same vein, he also talked a lot about EV infrastructure, EV charging, and did a lot of outreach. And his work in this area was very notable. One, he became the EV guy and the EV tourism guy for the Oregon coast, which was its own thing. But he also facilitated a notable $367,000 worth of investments in EV charging infrastructure through ODOT's mobility program just on the Oregon coast. And they recently gave us that positive feedback saying, thank you so much for all of those efforts. Like, it really made a difference for our region. Additionally, he worked on transportation feasibility, so looking at market opportunities for private busing services between the Portland metro area and the North Coast. This is a destination management area of high use, and looking at how we could possibly take these day trip visitors going to and from Portland into the Oregon coast and along the North Coast and get them on buses and make a really attractive opportunity for those visitors. This would also lead to less traffic, less parking congestion, and less emissions. He also worked in the system of donation systems, and he can really chat to you about this. But I think as many of us see in sustainable tourism, there's this increasing data saying, 80% of visitors want to have a sustainable trip, 90% of visitors want to do the sustainable trip, but they don't know how. And so one way that we're looking at is how can we create donation systems to ensure that those visitors have an opportunity to contribute directly to the environmental nonprofits on the Oregon coast that are doing restoration and conservation. So Finn worked alongside a climate scientist, developed scientific criteria, worked with Kind Traveler out of California as a partnership to create a couple of different programs, but one that's a travel impact calculator modeled after Visit Iceland's, and it's one of the first of its kind in the United States for a tourism organization like ours. And then lastly, in general sustainability resourcing, Finn was actively involved in identifying and resourcing partnerships and projects for cities, businesses, communities, counties, nonprofits, also in the Portland area as well. I was really surprised by the amount of people we've met through his capacity. And a huge win for our team was his involvement in writing and securing a federal Environmental Protection Agency environmental justice grant worth $500,000, which will begin next month. So that was a huge win, and that was a big part of his efforts. So in conclusion, the work that we're doing, it's pretty new to us. Like, we're not like, oh, here's how you do it, it's easy. We have this person that really helped us really explore this from this curious academic lens and help us put it into actual projects for our organization. And I think that the collaborative efforts between Travel Oregon, ACFA, and the RARE program really exemplify our shared commitment to sustainable tourism and creating resilient coastal communities. So leveraging partnerships, innovative approaches, and targeted initiatives, I think that we're continuing to drive positive change and move forward in a sustainable tourism way on the Oregon coast, and that we are edging closer and closer to Travel Oregon's 10-year vision, and we're very excited about it. So thank you so much.
Oh, can y'all hear me? I'm losing my voice. Not ideal timing, so I'm going to get real close to the microphone. Can y'all hear me okay? Oh, gosh. This is going to be bad. But it's going to be great because I'm really excited to really talk to y'all today about the journey of our organization and how we really leverage the RARE AmeriCorps program to build capacity. We've heard that word lots today, but build capacity and really grow our team. So those that are new to the commission and may not be as familiar with who I am the executive director of the Eastern Oregon Visitors Association, serving as the RDMO for Eastern Oregon's 11 counties and 2 federally recognized tribes. Just to kind of set the landscape, when I started in this role in spring of 2019, at the time I was the organization's sole employee. While I was eager and excited to serve the communities in our region, you can probably imagine my feelings of slight overwhelmingness, but also just really wondering, how am I going to get all this done? And the work of the RDMO. But I knew one thing: we needed people to fulfill our mission and to really expand our reach and impact in our communities. There is a critical need for capacity building to bolster our people power, both within our own organization and among our partners, like you heard from Jennifer earlier today. But one of the big things with our region too, because of our size, the varying needs across the community is very different. But really through the cooperative funding from Travel Oregon, we have really been able to leverage the Rare AmeriCorps program to enhance our capacity. This funding has been vital in building our team and putting capacity building opportunities within reach. One of the things I just wanted to give a little anecdote, Alexa alluded to it earlier, but I am a Rare alum. I'm also, participant, alum, supervisor, is that the trifecta? Okay, but it's been really exciting. I am one of those. I'm from the East Coast. I came from Virginia, and my placement was in LeGrand many years ago. But I also did a cohort with Alexa, so it's very exciting to really see this program come full circle. And so when I started in 2019, I knew that the RARE program was something that was going again to build those capacity efforts within reach, and with. Let's see, so in September of 2020, our first RARE placement joined us, Kate Harbor, who was in the audience. She really joined our time at a peak, at a very critical time. So we were kind of in the peak of COVID. I was trying to figure it all out. The tourism industry was upside, it was a different world. And just really, having additional staff capacity to really help in different areas. At the time, too, there was also a lot of programming happening around outdoor recreation. Our area saw a significant increase in outdoor rec during COVID. So to really have someone that could be working with those organizations, those partners on the ground, to really see what the needs are and how we can best support them, leverage them, kind of to what Tori said. Kate also led a kind of collaborative grant opportunity a number of years ago. It was one of the things, it wasn't very exciting, but it was to get a trash receptacle like by the Alvord Desert because they had seen such an increase in visitation. So it was little things like that that really makes a big impact. I was super excited when Kate decided to stay a second year as a RARE, really building on that momentum. Her work scope of work kind of expanded in year 2, and then in year 3, we actually hired her on as a full-time staff person. And then around that same time, we were very excited to bring on a second RARE placement. Katie Boucher, who's not able to be with us today, but she has been really instrumental, similar to when Kate was brought on in outdoor rec. Katie was really brought on to focus on our cultural and heritage. So within our marketing and development pillars, culture and heritage was the one that we just didn't really have a lot of dedicated time to. And then there's so much happening around, with culture and heritage in our region. And I want to say, in the first 6 months that Katie had been there, she had connected with 45 organizations, making those connections, just really getting things done, as Titus likes to say. So I'm also excited to say that she is in her second year as RARE, and really in that work, her scope of work has also expanded. She's really been instrumental in helping with some of our culinary and agritourism program. She also piloted some accessibility work for us last year. And then this year, she's really working with some of our local partners on what we're calling expanding accessible spaces in Eastern Oregon, a collaborative effort across Baker, Union, Wallowa, Morrow, and Umatilla counties. And so that's really going to be working with those local partners and really helping them, incorporate accessibility more into their work. Excuse me. The dryness. I'm almost done here. And I might be done quicker if my voice goes out. I might be done. Let's see, is this going to work? Okay. I think all of that is to say that really the RARE program, the work of the impact RARE has had for us on the past couple of years has really elevated our capacity building, our outreach in our communities, and the work that we have been doing with local partners. Oh my gosh. It served as a catalyst for organizational growth and development. And really, by participating in the RARE program, we have gained access to valuable resources, training, and networking opportunities that have enhanced our capacity to fulfill our mission effectively. With this added capacity, it has also better positioned us to effectively implement the 4 interconnected objectives to bring Travel Oregon's mission to life, to reach the overall vision, collaborative partnerships, with collaborative partnerships being more important than ever. I might end there because I'm going to cough again. But I think you get the point. Capacity, it's been significant for us, and I can't thank the RARE program and Travel Oregon enough for this continued work. Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you, Commissioners. Now, if there's any questions, I know that we're closing in on time, but we'd love to take any that you have for us.
Yeah. Greg.
I'm going to go quickly because you're in my community now, and I really appreciate it. A lot has been said about rural Oregon and the energy that the residents have, and the hoteliers and the restaurateurs and all those people. And sometimes that's fragmented energy. I really look at this program as that funnel that brings it all together. And Alexa, I view you and Carter, shout out to Carter, as the spark to that. A lot of great kindling, and those communities, our communities, need you. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
I can just say why you like this program so much. I understand now.
There's no passion on this panel whatsoever, though. They, maybe next time they'll bring their A game. This is just, there's just no excitement, no passion for this program. Elena, I do hope you feel better.
I'm so sorry.
And I'm kidding. Oh my gosh, please know that I am kidding. I mean, 63,000 hours over dozens of placements, and everybody that I've met that's, been involved with the RARE program is just bringing it, and they're making a difference, and it's really, really obvious. There was somebody in one of the, you're a Hawkeye. Yeah. See, even the Iowa Hawkeyes that show up in the RARE program are okay, and I can say that as a Cyclone. But anyway, it's a fabulous program, and one that I firmly believe in. And Titus, what you're doing really matters, my friends. So thank you for helping us help rural Oregon through this program.
It's an honor.
It's a real asset for the state, for sure, as are you, my friend. So thank you all for the presentation today. So. Is Lisa here? There she is. All right. Commissioners, the last, I guess I don't really even want to call it a presentation, but we always end this meeting by giving you a peek ahead at what's coming up at the governor's conference, where we need you, what you might want to know, all that kind of stuff. And it's also a lovely opportunity for me to publicly thank Lisa and Matt for the work that they do. Probably before last year's conference was even over, they were thinking about this year's conference, okay? It just goes without saying. And Lisa and Matt, we would truly be lost without you. What you've done to help bring together amazing content, work with our sponsors, work with the other vendors, work in support of the most scholarships we have ever given. We have 56 scholarships that we've given out to this year's conference. And so before I give anything else away, I'm going to just turn it over to the two of you with my heartfelt gratitude for what you guys are doing and have done every day to bring this conference to life. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Todd, and good afternoon, Commissioner DeNovo and fellow commissioners. It's so great to be here in Salem and be back for our 39th annual, if you can believe it, Governor's Conference on Tourism. It's really been great to be walking the halls today and setting things up and seeing so many familiar faces. But also we have a lot of first-timers, like Todd mentioned. We are a sold-out conference at 550. We have 56 scholarship recipients. And just something that I was thinking about on my way to Salem yesterday was just it's so great to see so many Oregonians interested in joining us stewarding Oregon's future. It's so impactful. We're so excited. The next 2 days are going to be full of education, collaboration, of course, sprinkled with a little fun and excitement. And Matt and I, like Todd said, are here to give you a sneak peek of some conference highlights. So we'll just dive on in. As you know, and you heard from Erica a little earlier, Oregon's tourism industry is working really hard to deliver exceptional content, and that you're going to see that here at the conference. Conference content has not only been developed by Travel Oregon staff, but some of our contractors. And something I'm more excited about this year is we actually did an RFP out to the industry looking for educational content, and we got a lot of submissions back. So you're going to see a lot of sessions this year led by your fellow industry partners. So we're really excited. One of those is Navigating Change, Strategies for Climate Resilience in Destination Management, led by our own Erica Sears from the Oregon Coast Visitors Association. And I just can't say our industry partners are really navigating exceptional work, and we really need to be recognizing that. And I just can't wait to learn from this week. We have 15 overall breakout sessions and 4 general session keynote sessions. So just be ready to be wowed by our partners. We have some new additional things to the conference this year. We added an accessibility showcase. We partnered with 5 accessibility businesses that will be on site upstairs to talk to our partners on how to make their destinations more accessible. With so many partners leading the way in the space across the state and Travel Oregon's most recent grant program, we thought what a great way to ensure future collaboration and special projects. Some other new additions, and one that is near and dear to my heart, is a pledge wall. The theme of this year's conference is Stewarding Oregon's Future. You will see the theme integrated throughout the entire conference, and the inspiration for the theme and outcomes for the conference is like an Oregon white oak, which symbolizes stewardship and unity. It is our hope that all conference and attendees will be able to return home and feel empowered to be stewards of their own communities who will support culture, foster education, and promote economic development. So I hope you will please join us in sharing your pledge on the pledge wall. It's outside the general session doors upstairs. It is my goal to have all attendees make a pledge. It can be a personal pledge. It can be something that's happening in your community or internal agency work. Once you have made your pledge, make sure to grab your wildflower seeds. It's just a thank you for your commitment to align as stewards of Oregon. We have brought back some new things or some old things. We've brought back our regional ribbons, our first timers ribbon, but something that we're really excited about this year, and Michelle may have mentioned it, is our competitive grant recipient ribbon. These ribbons, especially the grant ribbons, really inspire conversations, future collaboration between industry partners, and we really hope the commission and our conference attendees will wear these ribbons with pride. We have a Tuesday dine around. We continue to hear from conference attendees that they enjoy having an extended lunch break during the conference. So this year we are taking you on a culinary tour of downtown Salem. The event is happening tomorrow. We have 7 restaurants to choose from within a 5-minute walking distance. So if you join us, please make sure to thank their staff. A lot of them have closed on our behalf. You know, they have a lot of bringing in extra servers and extra staff. So we always like to make sure that we're recognizing that part of the hospitality industry as well. Restaurants are on a first-come, first-served basis. I heard one of them is already sold out, which is exciting. You can grab your ticket at registration, and we just encourage all of you to join in the fun. Make sure that you're talking with industry partners. They're so excited to be able to connect with you all this week. One last thing that was new, you may have heard about already, but we have integrated something we're calling mobile learning labs into the conference. We had 2 that left this morning. We've really been learning through research and through our executive team that people are really learning by doing. So we wanted to make sure that we were offering those same opportunities to our industry partners. So we had 2 pre-conference mobile learning labs, one that went to Polk County and the one that went out to North Marion. And I heard that they were fabulous. And then we have one that is happening tomorrow, which is headed out to Yamhill County, discovering and focusing on regenerative tourism. And I wouldn't be remiss if I called out my colleague Alexa Carey and my industry partner John Hale Tehama. They have been integral in doing those learning labs. So we're hoping that this might be a jumping off point to what future conferences might look like. And I'm going to turn it over to Matt to talk about some more conference fun.
Great. Thank you, Lisa, and hello, commissioners. I'm Matt Finn. I'm the Industry Relations Coordinator. Just moving on to some more fun bits of the conference. We get to talk about our night out. This happens tomorrow night. And it goes back to, again, that conference theme of stewarding Oregon's future. So when we think about stewarding, there's many facets to that. But one thing that it involves is culture and heritage. And Mount Angel's Oktoberfest is one of those iconic festivals, celebrations that truly impacts a small community with hundreds of thousands of visitors in a community of about 4,000. So a 4-day festival that has huge economic impact. So when we thought about our night out, we said, let's go to Mount Angel, let's recreate this Oktoberfest. So we can't wait to show that off. We'll also be hearing from their board about that, again, that economic impact. And it's also a time where we can showcase the money that Travel Oregon spent through its Destination Ready program with the North Marion Tourism Collaborative about how they stewarded bringing visitors into that community for the Oktoberfest Festival. We also can't do this conference without our sponsors and exhibitors. So just some new things to highlight. One is a wellness lounge by SCP Hotels. It's a first-time sponsor for us. We're very grateful for their support. We know that just as this agenda has been very packed in, we pack in everything in this conference. There's a lot going on. But maybe you need a time to just breathe, stretch, do some instructor-led yoga. That's happening. Instructor-led yoga is happening tomorrow in this wellness space on the second floor outside of the Willamette Ballroom. There will also be some representatives from them, so please say hello. We're grateful for their support. Our overall conference sponsor this year is the Port of Portland. Again, one of those huge partners, very important partners for Travel Oregon. They have come in with great ideas and also bringing in representatives from Delta Airlines and British Airways. So be sure to come to the general sessions for those updates. And also Walt Marchbanks, who is the Customer Programs and Services Manager at the Port. He is hosting a sensory room. So this is a room where you can step into and just kind of get away from the clutter and the noise happening with the conference. Walt is also talking about activating sensory rooms at tomorrow's breakout session, which I believe is called Making Your Destination Welcoming for Neurodivergent Travelers. So it's great that we have this space to show off while also followed up with that educational content. We're very grateful to the 13 sponsors of the conference. And also we had very strong demand from exhibitors this year. So we actually increased the space. So you'll see them in this hallway to my left here as well. So 26 exhibitors. Very grateful for them. They'll be starting in our opening reception, which is just minutes away at this point. So I know I stand between us and getting to the conference, so thank you again. We're very looking forward to celebrating together, but also, again, sharing that educational content and the theme of stewarding Oregon's future. We welcome your questions.
Lisa or Matt, commissioners, any questions for Lisa or Matt, logistical questions that you may have for them before I turn them loose? Because I know they've got a few demands waiting for them right outside the door. So, no? All right. Lisa, Matt, thank you. By the way, you guys, Matt's only in this role for a couple of more weeks, and then, but I don't need to remind Lisa of that.
Thanks,
So.
You owe me.
With that, Chair DeNovo, that wraps up the reports and updates and discussions for this meeting. I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Todd. So we have reached the end of our agenda today. But before we adjourn, I would like to acknowledge the service of a commissioner whose time on the commission is coming to an end. Commissioner Maria Ponzi, who has served on the commission since 2018, will be leaving us to pursue other endeavors. Before I turn this over to Todd, Maria, I want to take this moment to tell you what a pleasure it's been to get to know you over the last 5 years. And I also want to just acknowledge you and the contribution that you and your family have made to this industry, being innovators and trailblazers. And from one woman to another, how you have inspired young women to be bold leaders and to speak their truth. And so I just want to take this moment to thank you and to acknowledge the contribution that you have made to this commission, but overall to the industry. So thank you. Thank you. Todd, I'll turn it over to you.
Lucinda, I appreciate you affording me the opportunity to say a few words to Maria as well. We've known each other a long time, and I have many, many fond memories of our work together in the industry, both here in Oregon or travels abroad. We've talked about and celebrated the fact that, as I often refer to them, your family was one of those founding families of Oregon's wine industry when everybody else thought trying to grow Pinot anywhere but where it was being grown at the time was crazy making. Your family came here, and you were a big part of that. But you've not only cherished that legacy and continued the legacy, but you've amplified that legacy in your own work and what you're doing today, both whether at Linfield, now as a speaker, with the 4-ounce pour, the work that you're doing with the public speaking and the author of the book Pinot Girl. Your contributions continue and just continue to amplify that legacy in the Ponzi name. And when I think of just a couple of the many memories that I have, I remember sitting with you early on and over a glass of wine, of course, and us talking about those founding days, and you reminding me that the very first tasting room, if I have this right, the very first tasting room for Ponzi Vineyards was basically throwing open a garage door, and there were 2 wine barrels and a door that were sitting there, and that was the tasting room for Ponzi Vineyards back in the day, And you've got an enviable Rolodex, because when we wound up in Washington, D.C. together for Destination Capitol Hill, you were like, hey, I know the guy that's the food and beverage manager at the White House. Would you like to go on a backroom tour? And we wound up seeing all the parts of the White House you never get to see on the public tour, including what they called a wine cellar, but it basically looked like a closet.
Right.
But guaranteed there were a couple of cases of Ponzi wine there waiting for the next state dinner that was going to be coming up. So, Maria, for what you've meant to me personally and what you've meant to the industry, and certainly what you've meant to this commission, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Todd. Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for those memories too. And it's been a real honor to be a part of this commission and to serve on this, to really represent the state. And I have had the opportunity to go abroad as well. And it has always been a pleasure and a true privilege and honor to represent the entire state of Oregon, not just wine. Also, I want to correct you, Todd, with a detail that the door was covered with a tablecloth.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And we did have a vase of daffodils on top. And then it was the sign out front of the long gravel road. And the sign read Ponzi Vineyards, and it said Oregon Table Wines. And I think about that frequently because nobody really knew that wine was meant for the table. And how far we've come, truly. The wine industry, of course, contributing nearly $8 billion to the state. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been able to see quite a ride, and it's been a true honor to be a part of that. I'm just stepping off in order to give somebody else another chance at this. I feel a little underutilized. I want to just recognize all the hard work that the staff does. I want to recognize in particular Commissioner Stevenson and also Commissioner Pendleton for their interest in getting more involved with the Finance Committee and also governance, so appreciate that. And of course, I just want to thank Todd for the vision, because that was many, many decades ago that Todd had this vision that we needed to have tourism in our state. And so none of us would be here without that kind of amazing long-term vision and just the impact that it has had, as we just heard today. It's brilliant. And so you've done so much for the state and so much for each of us that's in this room. So many, many thanks to you. Much gratitude. Thank you. And I'll see you on the other side. I'll be back there. Thanks so much,
Maria,
everyone.
we also have a beautiful plaque for you for your service.
Maria, it's not too often I'm speechless. You know I'm going to miss you very much. And hopefully in the future we'll continue to stay in contact and work closely together. But I do value your friendship very, very much.
Likewise. As the gentleman already mentioned, it is the people you meet along the way. Thank you for saying that. It's so very true. It's the journey and the people.
Well, Commissioner Ponzi, you unintentionally keyed up. One thing I did not, I was told I couldn't tell everyone it was your birthday today, Todd. But what I can do, yeah, I did not say it, wasn't me. What I can do is acknowledge the fact that I think March 1st of 1994, you began working for this organization. So you now have spent 30 years working for the tourism industry, and to Commissioner Ponzi's comment, the vision and the passion. It's why we are here today. So thank you to you for 30 years of just excellent, excellent service to this state. Commissioners, are there any additional business or announcements that we want to address today? No? Okay. So with that said, forgive me, I want to acknowledge my fellow commissioners and express how grateful and impressed I am by the ways that you continue to step up and serve outside of just participating in these quarterly meetings. As we already stated, Commissioner Stevenson and Pendleton participate in the Commission Finance Committee, and I'd like to thank Vice Chair Willits, who will join me in participating in the upcoming RCTP RFP committee, as well as thanking Commissioners Youngblood, Commissioners Gremmel, and Vice Chair Willits for participating in Destination Capital next week in Washington, D.C. With that said, our next meeting will be in early June, and more information will be posted on the industry website. I'd like to thank the staff and the local partners for a wonderful meeting today. I look forward to us all being together. And with that said, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks.